Yo, yeah, that's B-Eazy, that's the name. Way before the world knew he was running the game. Laid the groundwork, built the foundation strong. Been influencing the whole scene all along. Now everybody gotta give that man his praise. A living legend for the rest of his days. Oh, he deserves all the accolades, yeah. B-Eazy, B-Eazy. Gotta give that man his praise. A living legend for the rest of his days. Oh, he deserves all the accolades. B-Eazy, B-Eazy. We all here to see B-Eazy. We wanna listen to B-Eazy. Ayy, we all like B-Eazy. Now, matter of fact, we love B-Eazy. Believe me, he really that dude. Subscribe to the channel, it's easy to do. If you care, then go ahead and share this fire content, extraordinarily rare. That's why I put that on my mama, he is that dude. And I put that on my daddy, he is that dude. So ooh, B-Eazy. He got that certain kind of profile, smooth and effortless style. He's so fresh, makes the whole room stop and stare a while. Hear him asking, who's that? Mama, there he goes again. The way he moves, you know he's gonna win. Oh, you ain't know? That's just B-Eazy. B-Eazy Dat Dude. That man right there. B-Eazy. Ayo, who is that dude? Oh girl, that's just Be-Eazy. Oh boy, that's just Be-Eazy. Well, who is Be-Eazy? Oh, you ain't know, he been a pro for show, all about the dough. He been running up them racks and still trying to get some more. Don't care about the fame, just trying to gain and grow. He really one of them ones, his presence so pivotal. So hell yeah, he that dude, this is unequivocal.
Turn your radios up. Turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy Dat Dude, an impromptu stream back with another one. This one will be a banker. Controversial topic, so it will be a doozy. I don't like to keep y'all waiting. Show is starting at 7:20 p.m. But before we get this thing started, you know, You know, I gotta hit ya.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民と言っても地元のぐらいです。もう友達できたの？うん。グッドあんまこっち見ない方がいいかな。
This promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. She's just showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting moto. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no ho. This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy Dat Dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji eating tandoori and chicken curry, that ism is really indie. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad.
And we are activated. And let's see, it looks like we have been joined by some illustrious guests. Let me go ahead and give the shout outs before we get this thing started. We got Mr. Early and always on time, Chakra King. We got Mr. 350, the big block boat rider, Big Rig Slaps. And I have been pleasantly surprised by Shame and Scandal. We've got the marvelous my boo, what it did do. And of course, we've got Dropping the Tea. So salute to the UK fam and everyone live viewing this concurrently, and the replay gang that will be in the building. Appreciate y'all. And I'm going to have to do a stream. If it's not this weekend, then it will probably be next weekend. I want to give a shout out to not only the illustrious guests, but the people that are sincerely and genuinely supporting your boy. Now, you may know something. You may know something a little bit different, right? You may see that there's some dollar signs, right? So yes, of course, I prefer if you want to break me off and send me something to the Cash App, because I'm getting 100% of that. But you know, with the YouTube, they taking 30% off the rip. However, before we get this thing started, it won't cost you a fee. Like, sharing, commenting, telling a friend to tell a friend, engaging with the chat, it's all free. Now, I am about to cook, so y'all let me know. Could y'all hear me clearly before I proceed? Now, if you're unable or unwilling to make a financial contribution, at least hit the like button, or, you know, leave some sort of comment. Even if you want to troll, just come with some level of sophistication. All of these things help boost the algorithm for a channel like mine that may be highly scrutinized and shadow banned. But it looks like your boy is back active again with the monetization. So I do appreciate that. So before we get into it, let me hit you like this.
B-Eazy Dat Dude, he be bringing the vibe. In your leisure, come laugh and show some love every time he goes live. If you're feeling the flow, wanna help him shine, you can drop a little something, something. It's support time. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo too. Super chat, super sticker, whatever is convenient for you. Every bit counts, let's keep the good times rolling. B-Eazy's on fire and the crowd's still growing.
Woo, B-Eazy. He is that dude.
Okay, and of course, my says congratulations. Well, thank you, my. I was monetized before, but some of my content could ruffle feathers and get people in a tizzy. But it looks like I'm back. At least monetized temporarily. I don't know if they gonna yank it again, but at least for today, I'll celebrate for today. I'm monetized today. So if y'all see some advertisements popping up, hey, watch the ads, you know what I mean? Or you can skip them, but at least try to watch some of them, but I appreciate y'all. And like I said, there is no obligation. I'm a man of the people, so I come up here. I haven't been monetized. I've been doing hours upon hours of stream just to connect with the people. So if you're unable or unwilling to leave a financial contribution, just hit the like button for your boy. That is support. Now let's get right into this thing. I'm going to be reacting to a video. And Big Rig, I see you in here. Are you live right now or are you planning on going live later? Let me know, because I will I may shorten my stream if you're gonna go live. You said cool on the Crip. Shout out to the treetops though for life. They fed a Crip homie. I don't know what you talking about, but salute to you and salute to the Crips. You feel me? I'm not blood nor Crip, you feel me? But I'm affiliated. I'm initiated. We are the initiated. You know what I mean? I got love from the League of Shadows. Okay, you said you'll go live later. Okay, cool. How much later? Could you give me an ETA? An hour, 2 hours? What you thinking? For sure, I will definitely watch the ads and support you all the way. Yeah, I mean, watch the ad if it's something that intrigues you. Now on YouTube is doing a lot of these like Blue Chew and generic Viagra ads, so you may see that. I also seen what else? I seen the boy Ice T with his girl Coco. Shout out to Ice T and Coco. I seen they had a Blue Chew ad, so yeah. And you said shout out to them treetops. Don't forget about them. So bro came in. That's what I said. Bro came in on some gangbang stuff. So shout out to the you feel me? Shout out to the gangbangers. I'm trying to get started, but before I get started, let me just make this abundantly clear.
Okay, see? See, now you found yourself a nigga. You was looking for a nigga? Nigga here now, see?
Okay. Today's forecast, dark and cloudy, and chance of drive-by.
This shit just got rigged.
Well, what you gonna do, bitch?
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do.
You ever heard of rolling 20s, nigga? Since I was 16, nigga. Okay. See, what he thought was he could come up in here and make the rules, but now he see that I run this bitch, and now he about to bounce.
Now you don't gotta bounce. You just gotta know who run this. And you said Ice-T got a new song. I didn't even hear it. Is it a banger or what? All right, now let's get into this thing. Now let me go ahead and cook this banner up for you. The buck broken, brain dead Boule is blaming the black community for not putting on the capes for Kameme. Yes, Kamala Tanduri, the Tanduri queen, right? So let's get straight into this. And this is what the Democrats always do. They want to blame people, but they never want to put the blame where it actually should go. So just to be clear, I will be switching back and forth from the screens just to make it transformative. If you want to watch this video in full, uninterrupted, you can go to the Tim Black TV channel, the Honorable Tim Black. And hey, I may be doing a collab with Tim Black. I don't know, he told me to reach out to him. So I'm going to reach out to Tim and, see what we can do about that. But shout out to the brother, Tim Black. We gonna get into it. So this is Jim Django Clyburn over here blaming the black community because they didn't put on the capes for Kamami Harris. Let's commence.
Questions. Democrats largely have a historically negative view of their own party after the last election. Why do you think that is?
I don't think that's historical.
I guess I'm saying polling would tell you that Democrats' view of their own party is reaching lower numbers than ever. That's why I use the word historic. And I'm saying, why do we think that is?
Because we've allowed you all to brand us.
It's media branding?
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
Isn't that like a convenient way to say it's not the politicians?
You can call it convenient if you want to, but I talk to people all over this country. I just left Texas, and I'm headed to Michigan, and I know when people tell me what their problems are, and I answer their problems, they say, well, I never thought about it like that before. I said, well, that's exactly what the facts are.
I'd like to know, who does Clyburn be talking to?
Yeah, come on, bro. Already out the gate. Jimbo, Django, Jim Clyburn, or should I say Jim Coonburn? Gotta hit you.
Hope, please.
Nigga, please.
Hope.
Nigga, what?
Nigga.
Nigga, please.
Nigga, please.
So here we have Django Clyburn over here talking about, and I talk to people all the time. What people are these politicians really talking to? And look at all this hostility, right? When you see him getting interviewed by a non-black person, and usually he's being interviewed by a dub person on CNN or, some other liberal network, he's poised, he's calm, he's collected. But when he's being interviewed by this brother, and this brother is, kind of very giddy, he seems to be happy interviewing him. Why is bro so mad? And then he's over here blaming the black community, and I'll talk to people all the time, bro. How many of you guys have talked to your local politicians? Your local politicians are there to do the shake hand and kiss babies thing. When you start asking them very pointed and poignant questions that affects your tangible socio-economic interests, then suddenly they start getting an attitude because they want you to vote blue no matter who. Vote, 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 vote. Okay, cool, fine, I'll vote. What am I getting for your vote? You get a sticker that says I voted. Your community stays the same. Matter of fact, your community gets worse. But all you get is a speech and a harangue that your ancestors died for the right for you to vote. Your ancestors didn't die for the right for you to be mindlessly, aimlessly, brainlessly voting for the Democrats or any party, disproportionately while you're not receiving anything for it. And people like the buck broken Bozo Boulay, who's oftentimes led by Jim Clyburn, Jim Coonburn, what the heck are you getting for your vote? Voting is supposed to be quid pro quo. If you look at all these bigwigs, the oligarchs, the plutocrats, they don't just throw money behind a candidate. They say, yeah, we have no issue throwing money contingent upon you're going to do what we ask you to do. So then they say, well, power to the people and the people are the power. Or if the people are the power and the people want you to do a specific thing and you say, no, we have to fund that chosen country in the Middle East that's presiding over a genocide, like who does that help? I mean, I know which people it helps: BlackRock, J Street, like I said, many of the plutocrats and oligarchs. But for the grassroots, the rank and file, what some would call the proletariat, who does that help? Not a single solitary soul. And of course, I'm being hyperbolic when I say not a single solitary soul, but essentially what you're getting is they're eating the big feast and you get the leftover crumbs from a butter biscuit. And then you're supposed to be happy because, hey, you wasn't getting anything, so you should be happy with the crumb of a butter biscuit. Okay, let's get back into it, though.
Because you've been to DC, you never stopped and talked to me. So who are these people that you be all over the country talking to? Where do you go? You got some town halls? Where you do some?
It looks like the marvelous my boo. She got an ad that popped up. Okay, she had an ad that popped up like peekaboo. Okay, your boy is here. Hey, mama, I done made it. Nigga, we made it. So somebody call my mama and tell her I made it. But shout out to my and oh snap, we've been joined by Mr. Midnight Soul reporting and chatting from an undisclosed location in Northern America. And yeah, like Big Rig said, it seems like bro is really on some gang type stuff, and I do a lot of I do have a commentary where I talk about the gang. And to keep it real, shout out to the truth is always unfiltered. Well, here's some unfiltered truth. In 2026, many, not all, because I can't quantify that, but I could say many, a significant amount, a problematic amount of gang members are the new dweebs, dorks, and doofuses. Now, if you are an honorable person and you have some sort of code, morality, and ethics when you're engaging in these street and nefarious activities, bruh, I come from the mud. I started at the bottom, been at the bottom, and still slide at the bottom, right? But I transcended being at the bottom, right? So some people are at the bottom, but they want to stay at the bottom, right? You hang with chickens, you're gonna cluck. You hang with eagles, you're gonna fly. It's a lot of cats that's in the hood that are just chickens running around clucking. They don't want to fly anywhere. They don't want to do anywhere, right? Do anything, right? So, I mean, there's nothing hard about that. There's nothing masculine about that. There's not even anything to look up to, right? I'm a thug hanging out on the block, not really making any money. But hey, I'll pop a op. Who? Your op is the government. Your ops is usually someone of a different ethnicity in a different community, but you're not really going at those ops. You're going at ops that look like you because many people are too cowardly to go after the real ops. So again, what is there to respect about that? If you saw a bully, and this is the concept of pick on someone your own size. If it's a bully going around picking on a pipsqueak, are you going to be saying, yeah, man, he really a thug because he's punking Steve Urkel? Like, okay, nothing. You don't get no stripes from that. Not in my book, right? So, hey, shout out to my homies, you feel me? Because I know some very reputables. I know some really big C's, you feel me? Some cast is, you feel me, really with the blood activities. But at the end of the day, who does it serve and who benefits from it? But that's a deeper, broader discussion that I'm not really going to tap into right now. But yeah, salute to my. Let's get back into it. And of course, we got the hardest working mod on YouTube, Vibrant Lowell. It says black people be selling us out once they make it. They don't look back. Always look back and bring your brother up. This I can respect. The truth is unfiltered. This is a bar right here. Many people, and it's not just black people, but since I'm a foundational black American freedman, I'm speaking about this. The biggest sellouts are people in the dominant society selling out their own community, their own progeny. And many, unfortunately, white people are too busy talking about, I got black fatigue, but all of their issues are from people that look like them. They're still talking about George Floyd and BLM, but they can't afford a house. That's not George Floyd's fault, right? Your gas is through the roof. That's not BLM's fault, right? What about Chicago, right? Some of these dudes can't even get close enough to sniff a vagina. That's not because of fatherless homes in the black community, right? So I always tell my boy Big Rig, like, people's kryptonite is a mirror. Once you hold a mirror to them and they have to look at how pathetic they are, how slovenly they are, how disgusting they are, rather than face it and say, you know what, I need to make some changes, they just try to point outwardly. Well, when you point that one finger, there's three of them pointing back at you, right? People over there like, we want trad wives. We want more white women in the home. Okay, cool. So what are you providing for the white women to stay in the home? We don't like George Floyd. Bro, what did that have to do with you keeping a trad wife in the home? So many of these people talking about they have black fatigue. They're really just pathetic losers and incels and, are lost, miserable, and misguided. But let's get back into it, though. Again, the discussion is of the buck broken, brain dead Boule back blaming the black community for not putting on the capes for the DNC in collard green Mala Harris.
Town halls all over the country. I know, I know there's politicians that do town halls. I never heard of it. The last town hall I saw you at, you were trying to throw some, black Americans out because they.
I'm trying to get into the video, but my peoples is in here. Salute and I don't know what you were saying amen to, but salute to you. But we got Roger Meadows, the East Coast finest, Mr. Nassau County. And this whole black fatigue stuff is idiotic, right? Again, it's just simple logic, right? If somebody said they had pizza fatigue, but every day they're talking about pizza and eating slices of pizza, would that make any sense to you? If somebody said, man, I got Chevrolet fatigue, but then they're about to go buy a Camaro that's manufactured by Chevy. If somebody said they got NBA fatigue, but then they say, oh, I'm about to go watch the NBA game. And since it's not NBA seasons, I'm going to watch reruns of the NBA. But I thought you said you had NBA fatigue. All of these people say they got black fatigue, but they ride around listening to black music. They ride around listening to NBA Youngboy, Tupac, Lil Wayne. Then they go home and watch Boys in the Hood, South Central, right? Then, you know, they get a bottle of Jergens and go on Bang Bros and then type in BBC. I got black fatigue. Well, why are you going on black.com watching these snow bunnies get ramrodded from behind by these Mandingo warriors? Thought you had black fatigue. I got black fatigue, but all you're sharing is videos of black people. Some of those videos are from 2001. I got black fatigue. It's like, but you keep sharing videos of black people. So that sounds like obsession, not fatigue. But let's get back into it.
I was asking you about reparations.
Listen, if you wait on cash payments to come out of reparations, you're going to wait forever. It's not going to happen. So what you got to do, let me just talk. Don't put that in my face.
Why are you touching me?
Okay, all right.
Information alone will never move people.
Okay, so it's an ad. So let me go ahead and pause that. But you seen how bro was acting, right? Why is he so triggered? He's supposed to be blackety black. He calls himself a progressive. He's supposed to be a quote unquote civil rights leader. What the heck is civil rights about that? How are you a civil rights leader, but then you get hostile when someone asks you about reparations? And mind you, Jimbo Coonburn, he helped secure reparations for some Native American group. And it wasn't just any Native American group. It was a Native American group who treated black people brutally and also enslaved people, right? Because they love to talk about the W man, right? Yeah, well, what about this red person and this so-called native, right? Even with the Trail of Tears. Oh my God. The Trail of Tears. It was so sad. Yeah, it was sad. You know what else was sad? That they were also transporting slaves during the Trail of Tears. Why isn't that emphasized, right? The poor Native Americans. Okay, yeah, those poor Native Americans who were transporting foundational black American slaves. We're just going to leave that part out? Oh, they got wiped out. Yeah, they got wiped out, and the foundational black slaves that they had got wiped out too. We're just gonna leave that part out, right? So we always have to try to do this infantilizing victim. You know, people do this too. We stole their land. Like, what you mean we stole their land? You notice that people will say we stole native land, but they never say we enslaved the foundational freedmen. I didn't steal any land. I didn't genocide any natives. But when they're over there talking about we did that and we did this,
Who is we? Who is we?
No, y'all did that. Don't try to make this all inclusive, right? And we're in the information age. So these people were proud of their history. So I want to hear, okay, fine. They let us say, well, some black people own slaves. It wasn't the same. It wasn't that many. And it wasn't the same context. Some people were buying slaves to free themselves. And then, yeah, maybe there were some bigoted people who just hated black people. So if we're going to tell everything, then let's tell everybody. Okay, fine. Let's talk about all the black people who allegedly own slaves. Then let's talk about all the European people who own slaves. And then let's talk about all the native people that own slaves. Don't just say they're victims. They were genocided. Okay, so were they owning slaves prior to their genocide or after? fair questions to ask.
Of them out or something.
Pushing Biden out. How do we know they're not going to push Kamala out too?
Who is they?
You, Pelosi.
Me? What the hell are you talking about?
Did you guys do it?
What are you talking about?
Biden was pushed out.
By who?
By the Democrat Party.
No, I'm the Democratic Party.
I know.
I talk to people all over the country.
You see how bro is like tuning us on? I'm the Democrat Party. No, you're not, bro. You're an old, crusty, rusty, musty, dusty, old nigga. In the words of Jason Black. Like, come on, bruh. What the heck has Jim Clyburn done? He presides over one of the poorest districts in the entire country. He worked with the Republicans to gerrymander his district so he can be the only game in town, and then he can get people to vote blue no matter who. But the thing is, it's not going to be no matter who. It's going to be voting Clyburn no matter who, because he rigged the primary. Even now, they're over here saying, oh my God, the Republicans are trying to disenfranchise black people by redistricting their vote. But guess what? The Democrats done that too. The Democrats have redistrict the votes in favor of Latinos, in favor of Asians and all this stuff, all while saying you're the backbone of the party. They say you're the backbone of the party, and you turn around and say, hey, everybody, we're the backbone. And once you turn around to praise that you're the backbone, you get stabbed in the back. I mean, does that sound like unity? Did your ancestors die for the right for you to get stabbed in the back by the Democrats? And mind you, I'm an independent. I don't support the Republicans or the Democrats or even the Libertarians or even the Green Party, right? Now, I will say that the Green Party, at least rhetorically, represents more politically what I'm aligned with. But, I mean, the Democrats, DSA, Green Party, how different is the leadership of these respective parties, right? All of them are against our advancement, right? They differ rhetorically. They differ in, let's just say, culturally. But when it comes down to, hey, should foundational Black American freedom get tangible? All of them think hell to the no. So how are they different? Oh, they're different because they stand for this. Okay, fine. Let their coalition of, the MAGA miscreants and the lefty lunatics, let that coalition come together and fine. They love to talk about, oh my God, the Latino community is so huge, right? They're growing, fine. Let the Latinos, right? Let the Latinos usher in the next phase of civil rights, right? They love to talk about how, we're an irrelevant population. You guys are dumb and we have fatherless homes and stuff. But every time some crap hits the fan, they're always whining to us. Where are all the black people? Like, bruh, we've crashed out enough for y'all. 'Tis the season to hold your own nuts. Hold your own lineage. Hold your own filth. Hold your own accomplishments and hold your own failures, right? Shouldn't be that hard to do. It's called accountability. And let's see what the chat is chatting about. And you said, oh, we clowning Steve from Django? Yeah, I mean, Django Clyburn. And, I may be a little bit behind. Oh, snap, we've been joined by the sensational and the sophisticated, sincere Saida S. Triple. And you said the Los Angeles Chargers, bro, I have no idea what you talking about. But I'm going to get back into it, bruh. So just in case you said if Clyburn were food, he'd be oatmeal raisin. Don't disrespect oatmeal raisin like that, because I love oatmeal raisin cookies. They are delicious. Don't sleep on the oatmeal raisin. Now let's get back to Django Clyburn.
Like, that's still a very small sample size. And I know you're only talking to Democrats who want to be politicians. You're not talking to grassroots people.
Let me ask it a different way. Is it your opinion that Democratic Party leadership is not the main cause of the reason why voters trust their individual leaders less? You're saying that is a media problem, not necessarily the actions of Democratic Party leadership. That's what you're saying.
Well, I would say that the whole thing is media problem. I think the whole thing it's like when I was growing up, elderly people used to tell me all the time, because you can imagine at the time I was growing up, you were called a lot of things. The N-word was thrown around as if it was your second name.
It's still thrown around like it's a second name. Have you been on X lately?
And this is getting extremely annoying, bro, where people from this like civil rights retreads and from the Jim Crow, where they try to say it used to be like this. It's like it's still like that. There's something called covert racism and overt racism. It used to be very overt, where there will be signs that said no nigs allowed. Now, instead of the signs to say no nigs allowed, they just make it uncomfortable for you. They make it inhospitable for you. So when you go there, you know, you want to remove yourself. So now they want to say, hey, since there's no sign that says no nigs allowed, that somehow we're living in these better days. But all you got to do is just go on these Reddit feeds, go on Twitter X, go on Facebook, Instagram, and you see how disgusting people are when it comes to the disdain and the vitriol they have towards the foundational black population, right? So I'm so sick of these civil rights people and the people that a lot of them, sometimes they get in these interracial relationships, or they move to a neighborhood and they have a neighbor that's friendly to them. This is why I call polite supremacy, where someone is nice to you, polite, and you like, it ain't no systemic racism. Everything is fine. We're in a post-racial utopia. And then you get what's called the Negro wake-up call. And salute to Sincere. Sincere know what I'm talking about. And you said, check the other chat. Okay, you said, I hate raisins. I'll take iced oatmeal. I like the iced oatmeal cookies, but those things is extra hard. So I like the iced oatmeal cookies. Are you talking about from the Mothers? You know that brand Mothers? They have the best one. It's the perfect blend of iced oatmeal and cinnamon. But if you take those Mothers cookies and put a little bit of vanilla ice cream in there, chef's kiss. Now it's like it's. Now, Roger, you may not know nothing about this it's because it's a San Francisco treat. I ain't talking about rice-a-roni. That's another San Francisco treat. But I'm talking about the it's. Those are fire. But I do like the iced oatmeal cookies, but you gotta put a little bit of vanilla ice cream in the middle and make you an ice cream sandwich. Now, I don't eat a lot of raisins. However, I love oatmeal raisin cookies. And my favorite cereal, surprisingly, is Raisin Bran. I don't know how, I don't know why, but bro, Raisin Bran smacks, bro. They even got like a Raisin Bran crunch and stuff. So, hey, I love Raisin Bran. And Roger says, New York Dems have gerrymandered the F out of New York to the point where the judges they put in power said, okay, I know I'm supposed to go along with the party line, but this is ridiculous. We must break this up. Correct. Yeah. So when they always say the Republicans is bad, they want to disenfranchise black voters. The Democrats do the same thing. They want you to vote blue no matter who. And then now that you say, you know what, I'm demanding tangibles for my vote. Now they want to try to gerrymander it and say, we're going to support the Latinos and the Asians, and this is why they want to try to inundate you with this people of color nonsense, so that when they gerrymander it to favor these immigrants and non-black groups, they'll say, hey, they're still minorities, they're still marginalized groups, they're still people of color. So they used a black plight. They talk about Martin Luther King having a dream. They talk about Malcolm X. They talk about Fred Hampton with a Rainbow Coalition. They mention all of the foundational black leaders, and then they say, and now how we're going to show that you're the backbone of the party is we're going to open the border, give goodies, giveaways, and guarantees to immigrants. You know what I mean? Because they're people of color. But how does that help the black community? Well, it helps people of color. And since black people are people of color, it helps them too, right? Like it's just some kooky, quirky way that they try to spin around the block to try to pretend as if they're helping you. So again, all these other groups, they get a main entree, and then you get a butter biscuit crumb, but not a butter biscuit crumb directly in your hand. You get the crumb that fell off the table accidentally, and then they say, oh, there's a crumb on the ground. That's what you get. That's your tangible, right? They want you focused on non-citizens more than people who are foundationally native to this land, right? But, this is a nation of immigrants, right? Even look at the Statue of Liberty. They've just hijacked. The Statue of Liberty was for the formerly emancipated enslaved population. And now they turn the Statue of Liberty to be this basically this bastion of immigrant exceptionalism. This is a nation of immigrants. Bring us your sick, your tired, your poor. But when you just peel back and just really think about it, it's not only idiotic, but it's rather pathetic, discriminatory, and disgusting. There's no instance where someone would say, bring me your sick and tired and poor, and you would be okay with it, right? If you had a football team, would you want to start your football team with a bunch of sick, tired, and poor people? You're a construction contractor. Do you want a team of sick and tired and poor people? And then think about this country. People suffer from the diseases of despair. There's plenty of sick and tired and poor people here. So you see a bunch of sick and tired poor people, you overwalk them and say, but there's sick and tired poor people in Tijuana, in Bogota, in Bangladesh. It's like, okay, what the heck does that have to do with us here, right? They love to talk about they're seeking a better life. Who in this chat is not seeking a better life? So I should be focused on a non-citizen and them seeking a better life versus me seeking a better life here. They say, what about Chicago? They call Chicago Chirac. What about Oakland? Okay, fine. There's a bunch of gangs in Oakland. Where could those young kids in Oakland flee to? Nowhere. Shut up. Pull yourself up by your bootstrap, right? But that's not what they're telling these other people. Oh my God, they're fleeing gang violence in Venezuela, Trinidad. Well, tell them to hold their own nuts and pull themselves up by their bootstrap. That's what you're telling the kids from Oakland. You're telling them to shut up and pull yourself up by their bootstraps. So who cares if there's gangs in Oakland? So if no one cares about the gangs in Oakland and they say, don't make an excuse, don't be a victim, I don't want to hear about La M. I don't want to hear about the Mexican mafia. I don't want to hear about the cartel. Figure it out and hold your own nuts. Hey, I'm sorry, right? But 'tis the season. Let's get back into it.
Facebook.
Mm-hmm. And people used to tell us all the time, now, son, don't worry about what people call you. It's what you answer to. That's the issue. Mm-hmm. And so I advise.
You know what? That sounds good in practice, bro. It ain't about what they call you. It's about what you answer to. Now, that's a good little colloquial saying. It's what I call a buzzword and a bumper sticker. But if there's a grown man, and shout out to Big Rig. I don't know if Big Rig is in the chat, right? But shout out to Big Rig or my boy Roger or John. If somebody is going around and calling them a female dog, if somebody is going around and saying this to you, right?
Shut up, bitch.
If somebody is going around saying that to you, and then your response, it's not about what they call you, it's about what you answer to, and then they just keep saying,
shut up, bitch. Shut up, bitch.
It ain't about what they call you, it's about what you answer to. No, bruh, if you keep calling me that, I'm just saying you don't get a 2-piece wing meal, and it ain't gonna come from Wingstop. That's all I'm saying, bruh. So I get it, right? You're supposed to have this emotional intelligence and emotional fortitude to let people disrespect you. And sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. No, words won't hurt me and words won't hurt you. But this left, right cross and this tiger uppercut, that might hurt you. I'm just saying it might. Not threatening violence. I'm just saying, right? So no. And notice is always with us, right? We're supposed to be inundated with any and everyone saying the N-word, calling you an N-word, and you're supposed to get over it because it's not about what they call you, it's about what you answer to. So if I go around and use the Jewish slur, it's called Ike with a K in front. If I call a Jewish person a Ike with a K in front, and I say, hey, yeah, I called you a Ike with a K, but it's not about what I call you, it's about what you answer to. If you go and call a LGBT person an agate with an F in front, it's not about what I call you, it's about what you answer to. Even the stop Asian hate. Why didn't they say, hey, yeah, people are saying you have the Kung flu, and they were saying China virus and saying go back to your country. But it's not about what they say, it's about what you answer to. We're the only ones who are told this goofy stuff. Anybody else, if you call them something, did you know you can't even call a short person a midget, right? Like, oops, my bad. I'm not supposed to even say that word. I called someone a midget. Oops, I meant a little person.
Talo. Sorry.
Sorry for dropping the M-bomb, right? Now, somehow, midget is on the same level as calling someone a nigga. Retard is on the same level as calling someone a nigga. No, you can't say that. That's the R word. Like, what R word are you talking about? Rambunctious? Rowdy? Rapacious? What R word are you talking about? Okay, but somehow, I don't know people that were being lynched. You know what I'm saying? They were saying, lynch that M word, lynch that R word. They were saying, lynch that Igor with the N in front. They were saying that, and they were doing that. But now people are even trying to say if you call someone a Karen, that's the same as calling them the N word. What are we doing here? But again, it's not about what they call you. It's about what you answer to. Yeah, try telling all these other groups that. But let me get to the chat before I proceed. And shout out to Shame and Scandal still rocking out. You said Chicago fired 800 teachers before school started, and that's rather pathetic. And many of those teachers, many of them were actually black teachers. And then think about this, right? There'll be a school that's failing in a black neighborhood, and then they say, oh, you know how we're going to help the school that's failing? We're going to bring in a bunch of bilingual teachers so we can help teach the Hispanics. It's like, huh? How the heck does that help the black community? Well, it doesn't, but it helps people of color. So then they just keep pivoting from black to people of color and minorities, right? But you don't hear them talking about people of color on people on color crime. They're talking about black on black crime. How am I going to stop black on black crime when you keep pivoting to Hispanics and Asians? So the Asians are innocent angels. They don't do any crime. So where's the term of Asian on Asian crime? Look at the Latino gangs. They're bigger. They're more organized and more violent. But find me a creator talking about Hispanic on Hispanic crime. Many Latinos don't consider themselves brown, but you're projecting brownness on them when many of them believe in mejoró la raza, blancamiento. There's nothing brown about that. Lighten, brighten, and whiten the race. So you're calling people, some who are trying to whiten their race, and you're calling them brown. You're calling people who look like Cameron Diaz brown. Yeah, they're the brown community. They're people of color. Yeah, what color? What color? But then, many people have been goofy to, want to vote for this, to try to sing arms and kumbaya. And this isn't about hate. This is about ethnic preservation and survival. We've already tried the kumbaya, holding everyone's hand, singing, tap dancing, Negro spirituals. And where has it got us, right? We're at the bottom. We helped other groups get off of the bottom, and they said, nope, you guys need to stay at the bottom so you can be society's political and social doormat. There's no POC coalition, right? So why are we pretending as if we're united by a color? And think about how idiotic this is. People love to say, well, black is just a color in a crayon box. And let's say that it is. If black is a color in a crayon box, why are you going around calling people of color? You don't want us to call ourselves black because it's a color in a crayon box. However, you're trying to pretend as if we're united by color, by the colors that are in a crayon box. Asians at some point were considered yellow, even though I've never seen a yellow Asian. Yellow is in the crayon box. Black is in the crayon box. Brown is in the crayon box. White. People, why y'all call yourselves black? Well, why are your country being dominated by a color? Your country is being dominated by white people. White is a color. White is in that same crayon box as the blacks. And not only that, white people have melanin as well too. So again, when you say people of color, what color are you talking about? Is white not a color? No, it's different. How is it different? You said people of color and white is a color. Just how idiotic this the term is. There was only one group labeled as colored in this country, and that was foundational Black American freedom. And all these other groups, they distanced themselves from any color. I know black, papi. It wasn't just the Dominicans. I'm not black, I'm Nigerian. I'm not black, I'm Haitian. I'm not black, I'm from Senegal. It wasn't just them. I'm not black, I'm Yoruba. I'm not black, I'm Igbo. Now, since ICE turned up the pressure, now suddenly we all black since when? But let's commence.
Young people, even today, don't get all exercise. I do know this. There are a lot of black people who are out here supporting Trump. You cannot tell me that his policies are good for Black Americans. Mm-hmm. Are they? So
I guess.
Bro, this dude is getting on my nerves, bro, for real. And you said, I'm not sure exactly which one you were referring to, but salute to shame and scandal. You said words will make me F you up. And this is what I'm trying to say. But see, Big Rig, once they do, they're going to say that you're chimping out. You have low impulse control. And it's not about what I call you. It's about what you answer to. So again, Big Rig, if I pull up on you and I say,
Shut up, bitch. Shut up, bitch.
You're not supposed to trip, because if you ain't a B word, then why you answering it? I should be able to.
Shut up, bitch.
With no consequences. Well, you can do that on YouTube, but if you in my face, if you're in my vicinity and you do that, I'm just saying. Hey, I'm just saying, if you want to get checked into the SmackDown Hotel, you know, I'll leave the lights on for you. Let's commence.
Black people supporting him.
It might be because the Democratic Party hasn't delivered. Like, it might be because the leers of investment in neoliberal democratic politics has not changed their communities, right? Like,
hold on. Pennywise says no need to get violent. Who's getting violent? I didn't call for violence. I call for self-defense by any means necessary. So we have a term in the FBA community. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing, right? So that's all I'm saying. Don't start none, won't be none. That's all I'm saying. However, I will defend myself by any means necessary. And if it resorts to violence, I try to, mitigate it. I try to eliminate the need for violence. However, violence is always on the table. And salute to the New Orleans family, the 504 boy, Woody Braxton was good. You said, I've been called plenty of things. I'm used to it. It's fine as long as they stay on their side. I'll stay on mine. Yeah, I get it. Like I said, sometimes you're okay. You get called N-bombs. You get called disgusting slurs and epithets. Sometimes, you may want to act out, and sometimes you want to let it slide. However, It's up to the discretion of that person. You may have caught them on a bad day that they didn't want to let stuff slide. And then you can't antagonize people. Like if I was literally in the wild poking a bear, right? And the bear turned around and mauled me. And then I say, why'd that bear do that? All I did was poke him. Yeah, right. If I poke the bear, maybe the bear shouldn't have responded and mauled and slaughtered me, but also shouldn't have been poking the bear, right? So if you're over here antagonizing someone and then, it resorts to violence, which I'm not promoting for, it's like, why were you antagonizing and hectoring people? That's why they say FAFO, you play stupid games and you win stupid prizes. Correct. LGBT will get you fired quick. Like I said, if you call someone an agate with an F in the front, even Dave Chappelle, right? When Dave Chappelle was doing his Chappelle show, most of the bigoted, disgusting, racist / racial jokes was against black people. The thing is, no one thought that he was an actual bigot, so it was okay, right? I don't mind racist / racial jokes as long as it's coming from a person that doesn't truly have that in their heart. They're just doing it for the spits and giggles, right? So Dave Chappelle is a legend in that regard, and he wanted to up the ante when it came to the LGBT community, but they said, hail to the no, 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 no. Now he can drop all sorts of N-bombs. He can make fun of all these groups, right? But they told him, hey, you cannot go around calling people an agate with the F in the front. Why not? Right? All of these people say, hey, we want to be treated fairly. Okay, fine. All slurs matter. Why should we have the F word be protected? Like, no, right? If you want to say the N word, because they say the N word is just a word. Well, so is the F word. So is the R word. And so is every other slur and epithet. They're all just words. So why are you trying to, restrict all these other words, but give everyone a universal global pass to say the N word because you heard it in a rap song? I heard the F word, agate with an F. I've heard that in plenty of rap songs. So why can't I use that excuse? I'm only calling people, a agate because I heard it in a song. Okay. No, they say, no, that's unacceptable. So then that would mean that it's unacceptable for you to try to whine and say, I heard the N word in a song. And mind you, people be walking around Walmart when Katy Perry or Taylor Swift is saying, and you dropping the N word. Like, there's no rap music playing. People will be in a Lily Dub neighborhood saying, I only listen to, it's like, bro, why don't you listen to Garth Brooks? Why don't you listen to Keith Urban, right? You're intentionally listening to rap music and then pretending as if rap music has this hypnotic hold over you. For must say N-word, cannot stop myself. It's like, come on, bro, you're not a robot. Like, no one programmed you to say it. You actively chose to say it. So just say it with your chest and stop whining and acting like a victim. Rap music made me do it. Okay, so then if it's a young thug that does a drive-by and say, hey, I only did this drive-by because rap music made me do it, they gonna say, heck no, you need to take responsibilities for your actions. And I concur. So then when you're over here saying the N-word, don't blame rap music. You need to take responsibility and have some accountability for your recklessness.
Couldn't they be voting not just for Republicans, but against Democrats?
That sounds like a good question. Let's see what Clyburn has to say. I mean, it's an excellent question. Damn it, I'm surprised it was asked. Go ahead, Clyburn.
Well, don't vote at all. Isn't that what you said?
I guess I wanted to say that I feel like when we talk to a lot of the Democratic base, we hear a desire for accountability.
All right, hold on. Since I'm behind on the chat and it looks like we got some trolls in here, let me just go ahead and get this. So we got Pennywise or Punky Wise. You shouldn't live your life as a victim. It won't help you. Bro, you have Pennywise. You have Pennywise as your profile pic. I mean, how pathetic does it get, right? You're saying you shouldn't live your life as an incel. You don't even want to show your face. You don't even want to show an AI version of yourself. So who's the true victim, right? You're wallowing in victimhood, so scared that you don't even want to show an image of yourself. I mean, how pathetic is that? You're not in a position to be giving anyone advice. Don't act like a victim. Well, don't act like an incel. Don't act like a dork. Don't act like a moist maniac who's afraid to show themselves so much that you're circle jerking to a horror movie fictional character clown. I mean, I guess that's why you chose the clown. It is befitting, but like I said, I'll let you, go on again. Otherwise, I might have to get you up out of here because, like I said, if you're gonna troll, which hey, troll lives matter, but bring some level of scholarship. Don't come over here whining. You know what I mean? Because you know what? Hey, Pennywise.
And you know what, nigga? You acting like a little bitch right now. You acting like a little bitch right now, nigga. Man, fuck that. I ain't letting that shit ride.
You know how you're acting, Pennywise. So Roger says, being from downstate, NY, immigrant capital of the U.S., Caribbean, Black, and Latinos always ask me where I'm from. My answer would always take a moment to register because immigrants think everyone is an immigrant. When it registers and appears above their head, oh, you're American, like I'm some rare bird. And this is why you gotta drop that goofy term, African American. But this is why many immigrants love that term, because they can tether and culturally leech onto the term, and then they can try to usurp your Africanness and say, well, you don't even know where you from. What language do you speak and what's your tribe? Doesn't matter. And this, let me just debunk this stuff and just dispel this, right? It doesn't matter what language you speak. Because when they're over here speaking to you, guess what language they're speaking in? English. Well, English ain't y'all language. Even if it wasn't our language, you're speaking English like me. So how are you any better than me? Then if they spoke in their native tongue, no one would give a hoot. They just wouldn't. Not trying to disparage, but if that's the case, why won't they make content only speaking in their native tongue? Why won't they make songs only speaking in their native tongue? Because no one gives a hoot. So they try to wag their fingers. Y'all speaking a white man language as they're speaking the same language as you. Okay. You don't even know what tribe you're from. Yes, I do. My tribe is foundational Black American freedmen, right? And I'm from here. So this is why they always want you looking to some distant land in Africa so they can try to usurp you culturally and say, I know where my homeland is. I speak this language and all this stuff. Okay, why aren't you in your homeland speaking your language, right? Wouldn't that language be better served amongst people to speak that language rather than come to a new system, a new country, and try to transform it into, back to the place that you fled? It just doesn't even make it sense. You said it's like the series The Chi. I haven't heard The Chi. I heard that it was good, but I know a lot of these shows, they have been putting these hidden agendas in there. So let me know, Seamus Scandal, what you think. I had to explain this to some woman from Russia or Ukraine or some dub country who'd been here since the mid 80s. And she was saying that everyone here is an immigrant. I explained, no, not everyone. Yeah. And this is why they love that this is a nation of immigrants built by immigrants, so that everyone gets collapsed under an immigrant banner. But guess who should be more infuriated? Remember the so-called Native Americans, right? Think about this, right? First of all, there's three foundational groups, right? The so-called Native and Indigenous, and I say so-called because no one even knows who the heck the Native Americans are, right? Because when they see an actual foundational Native Black American, they try to pretend, no, that's a pretendian. But then when they see a tribal chief that looks like Macaulay Culkin or Justin Bieber, they pretend, yeah, they're indigenous. Yeah, indigenous to Europe. So again, no one really knows who the natives are. They say that the natives were genocided, but then somehow, how are they able to replenish and reproduce the numbers? They recruited a bunch of Mexicans and then also a bunch of white people to try to, further the line in the lineage. And it's funny too, right? Because they love to talk about, why won't y'all take a DNA test? Guess who doesn't take DNA tests? Natives. So think about this. They want you to take a DNA test to trace you back to Africa. But then the natives are saying, no, like our identity isn't based on a DNA test. So the natives are saying, we ain't taking a DNA test, but we're native. And trust me, bro. Then meanwhile, they're trying to get you to take some 23andMe and remind you 23andMe went bankrupt and it was hacked. So much of people's information was hacked as well. And there's no DNA that can pinpoint you to a specific tribe, ethnic group, or anything. All of these are relatively new science that are a lot of estimations and guesses, right? So even if you take a test and it says you're 93% Nigerian, which Lil Wayne claimed, if Lil Wayne goes over to Nigeria, they're going to call him what he is, an American. So again, these tests say for entertainment purposes only. So a lot of it is just for, social media jargon, like, hey, look what tribe I'm supposedly descended from, right? But there's no really ethnic DNA markers for these tribes. Many of these tribes are relatively new. Our foundation in this land is older than most of these nation states in Mama Africa, right? So again, how are you from there again? You said my ancestors were slaves who'd been here since the 1700s. She was just like, I've never heard this. I was just like, you never heard of slavery. You've been here since 85 and you didn't bother to educate yourself. Well, the thing is, they didn't bother to educate themselves because the Democrats and all the politicians, they've rolled out the red carpet so that they can have their ethnic enclaves. But nobody wants us to have our ethnic enclave. We're like, okay, fine. Y'all want to have Chinatown? Go for it. You want to have Japantown? Go for it. You want to have Little Korea? Go for it. You want to have Little Haiti? Go for it. Little Senegal? Go for it, right? And then we say, you know what? All these people are delineating. We want to have a little freedom in town. We want to have a foundational black town. That's reverse racism. Why y'all being divisive? It's like, huh? Well, we're just doing what everyone else is doing. We're late to the delineation party. Chinese people are Asian. Japanese people are Asian. Why isn't it called Asia Town? Show me the Japanese businesses in Chinatown. Show me the Filipino businesses in Japantown. All of them are Asian. All of them are delineating. All of them want ethnic and cultural specificity. But with us, we have to pretend we all black, we all some generic African, and we're supposed to just, be a mishmash, hodgepodge, gumbo of some generic African blackness. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for us to stay on board with it. It makes sense for the tethers. It makes sense for the political establishment because they use the foundational blackness as an extraction hub. Here we can take from that, right? This is why they always talk about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton. They talk about foundational black leaders. But again, who is the Asian version of Malcolm X? And then when you find some of these people, you see that, hey, they were only fighting for Asians and they were anti-black, right? Look at Cesar Chavez, right? He was supposed to be the Mexican version of MLK. And then y'all saw years later, they put smut on his name. But even Cesar Chavez, we were fighting for civil rights, which means all lives matter, which means universal policy. We were fighting to help everyone. Yeah, we wanted specificity. And honestly, this is what actually hurt us. You know what I mean? Because we was on the rising tide, lift all boats. Injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And in spirit, right, it sounds good. The thing is, nobody else was operating on that. While we were fighting for civil rights, trying to help everybody else, people like Cesar Chavez was fighting for Chicano rights. Look at the Asians, right? Stop Asian. Hey, okay. That year that they passed to stop Asian hate, guess who was the leading victims of hate crimes? You guessed it, Black Americans. So we were the leading victims of hate crimes by like 5 times more than Asians. But suddenly the Asians get a C-19 bill, which was supposed to be a hate bill for everyone, but it specifically denounced Asian hate over 14 times. There's never been any bill like that. They always try to have a bill with us, but they have to lump it in. The black and brown, the black and the people of color, the black and marginalized groups. But when it was Stop Asian Hate, it wasn't Stop Asian and Black Hate. It wasn't Stop Why wasn't it called Stop People of Color Hate? They love that term, people of color, but when it's time to dole out some tangibles, they don't use that term. And then again, what color are these Asians? Many of these Asians are the same complexion as a Lily W, but you're calling them a person of color. Many Asians are lighter than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a white dude, but they call him the orange man. So Donald Trump is darker than a bunch of Asians, but I'm supposed to call the Asians people of color? And which Asians are we talking about? Are we talking about the dark brown skinned Cambodians, or are we talking about the pale skinned Koreans? So pale skinned Koreans are people of color, and dark skinned Filipinos are also people of color? Make it make sense. You can't, because it doesn't.
Ability from their own leadership, a leadership they feel like has not delivered, a leadership they feel like made some political stumbles for Donald Trump to return. I guess I was asking, do you share any of that?
No,
and
I
feel
don't.
that no? And you're saying no.
I'm saying no. I'm saying that's what you said. They don't tell me that. Why
They don't tell you that?
Why are my constituents telling you stuff they won't tell me?
I guess I find it a little hard to believe that you haven't heard the Democrats say they're mad at their own party leadership right now. That feels pervasive.
I'm very pleased to be here today to continue in my efforts to get Haley Stevens elected to the United States Senate. I developed a tremendous amount of respect for her ability.
Well, friends, we got an election coming up on August 4th. And how incredibly humbling and inspiring to have my friend, my Democratic leader, Jim Clyburn, here in Detroit, in the Motor City, the heartbeat of automotive country. Jim, I can't thank you enough. I'm not going to let.
Bro, who is this Karen up here? I mean, I know who it is, Haley Stevens, but this is who he backed. But again, I might have to get this. Let me try to catch up to the chat, bro, because we got this dude up here. Let me just remove this because I'm probably going to transition to the next story. But let me just pull this up because the lies just, bros just keep on lying, right? So let me just take this loser down and let me take the banner down because he's whining. What about BLM? It's 2026. It's almost 2027 and they're still whining about BLM. Literally, these low IQ lunatics can't even afford to buy a home. George Floyd isn't here anymore. What about George Floyd? It's like that's the reason that you're an incel. It's because of George Floyd. The vast majority of BLM demonstrations across the U.S. were peaceful and non-destructive. Estimates suggest that over 90% of protests did not involve significant property damage. The narrative that entire cities burned is inaccurate. Inaccurate, also another word for inaccurate, means it was a lie. Look at Pennywise, or should I say Pussywise. BLM has caused a lot of problems. A lot of cities burned to the ground. It's like, come on, bruh, stop lying and stop whining. So again, like I said, you can troll, but come with some level of sophistication, not the lies. If I keep scrolling and I see some of your more pathetic lies, I'm gonna have to get you up out of here, pussy wise. But like I said, the whole lie, BLM burned cities down. Well, guess who was the most of the people that was out there during BLM? Most of the protesters were white. So who was doing this? Let's just say they did burn cities down. Most of the BLM protesters were white. So who was doing the burning? I'm just saying. You said don't get violent. No, I'm not getting violent, and you're not worth it. You're a faceless troll. That's rather pathetic. As a matter of fact, Pennywise, let me go ahead and just sit you on a timeout. Had to sit, You said fools believe anything. Who are you talking to? So just because you coming in like that, I'm going to go ahead and put you on a timeout. And then we've got Frank Nitty, Mr. Gritty, putting on for the biddy. Yeah, a lot of these, like I said, moist maniacs and morons is rather pathetic. And I'm gonna have to cue, you feel me? I'm gonna have to get that in my arsenal. Spaghetti-O. I mean, what happened to the good commercials, bro? Spaghetti-O used to have some fire commercials, and Chef Boyardee. Don't sleep on them. Keep in mind, be respectful to the host in the chat and avoid timeout. Now, I'm not a person that believes in censorship. However, I do have a program to run. I do have a broadcast, and yeah, and this is what I'm saying. Like Penny and these cats, they always trolling, and then as soon as you drop the link, they just scatter like roaches. It's about genealogy anyways, exactly, which is why many of these natives said, bruh, we ain't tripping off no DNA test. Most of their most of their traditions are passed down orally. So then when your mama told you was Cherokee, when your mama told you this, right, you didn't look at your grandma and say that she was a pretendian, right? So while your mama was telling you like, bruh, we ain't no African, we're this and this and that, you let the dominant society do a paper genocide because they wrote down that you were African American. Then you start saying, man, I'm an African American, I came from Africa, but nothing about your culture is African, right? You don't culturally dress African. You don't culturally speak African. You don't culturally eat African. You don't culturally dance African, right? Every time they come over, they always let y'all got baby mama culture and all this other stuff, when most of the baby mama paternity fraud is in the Caribbean, right? So a lot of these people come over and project all of these degenerate things, but that's because that's what they come from. That's not really, yeah, we have degenerate people in our community like every other group does. Once I start pulling up the degenerate and disgusting things of the other communities, then suddenly it's turned in, that's xenophobic. You hate immigrants, right? But when the immigrants are disparaging us, it's like they just keeping it real. Well, fine. Keep it real about us. We're degenerate thugs, low IQ, who love fried chicken and watermelon. But then when I start bringing up the Indians who are having these poop festivals, smearing cow dung all over each other, then it's like, you hate Indians. It's like, I'm not the one smearing poop on each other. That's, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, right? When I talk about some of these countries that eat cat and dog, like, you know what I mean? Have cat festivals where they're eating cat meat, right? Just saying. And Frank said those tests are false. Man, those tests are about money and about pushing an agenda. Those tests are about trying to make you an immigrant on your land, because if you're looking to a distant place, then of course you won't stand up, stay here and fight. You're looking to Mama Africa, but no, it's not. My motherland is here. My motherland is in America. But let's just hypothetically say that my motherland was in Africa. Why didn't my mama come get me? Those are your brothers and sisters. My brother didn't come get me. My sister didn't come get me. My mama didn't come get me. So how was Africa my motherland again? I'm just saying, if anyone in the chat has kids, would you just let your kids go? And then you're like, oh, my kids is in this distant land, but they'll be fine. What type of parent is that, right? What type of family member is that? So if we were supposedly these long lost generic Africans, where were the ships? Where was the battalion to come and get your brothers, your sisters, your mothers? It's like, come on, bro. You just let some people take your mother to a distant land and you're just like, all right, do you, boo? It's like, okay, fine. And that's what happened. We had an ethnogenesis. We became a completely different group. They love to say you were stripped of everything African. So how was I stripped of everything African, right? If you strip everything African, it's not African anymore. And then I create something new. No, but that's African. How is it African when you said I was stripped of everything African? I was stripped of everything African. Nothing that you see is recognizable in Africa. And then I create something new from the mud, from the void. And then you say, don't forget, that came from Africa. No, it didn't. And let me try to get, you said BLM got nothing to do with, that's what I'm trying to say. The dude over here whining about BLM. He can't afford a home. What about BLM, right? There's a bunch of sick pedos running loose because of that pedo list. What about George Floyd? They're over here bombing people in Iran, in Lebanon, right? There's a genocide going on in Gaza, and they're still What about BLM? Okay, how pathetic could you guys be? It's your community is in charge. Remember, these are the people that love to say, we conquered this land. This land wasn't stolen. It was conquered. Okay, fine. It was conquered. So that means it's your land, right? This is a white Christian nation. You're right. This is a white Christian nation. Okay, fine. So if some boo-boo hits the fan, then guess who I'm going to blame? I'm going to blame the dub Christians because this is your nation, right? You said you were in charge. You said you conquered this land. And then when I point to the people who are in charge for the failures of this nation, then you want to blame some powerless group. It's the blacks. But you said that the blacks were stupid, unorganized, and had no power. So how could they be running things into the ground? So rather than blaming the low IQ powerless group, we're supposed to overlook the alleged high IQ powerful group. Come on. Does this make sense to anyone? And shout out to Red 6 in the mix like Twix. They never can. I always ask them what specific cities were burned to the ground. And saying BLM is a proxy for black people, most of the protesters out there were Lily W. The movie Malcolm X did such an incredulous damage to us around the world. The scene when Bain said to Malcolm, do you know who you are, where you came from? You don't even know who you are. You're nothing. You're less than nothing. This gave African a superiority complex, making them parrot those talking points when it was supposed to bring us together, where they see us as long lost relatives. And this is what I was trying to say, bruh. This is why they want you calling yourself African American, so they can try to usurp you culturally and try to say that, hey, I'm the authentic African, right? You're just a Diet Pepsi and I'm a true Pepsi, and, I'm a real African and you're just, a kind of knockoff African, right? But then when we drop the African and say, bruh, we're foundational Black American. See, you don't know who you are. You don't know where you're from. But let's just say I don't know where I'm from. Y'all don't know either. So if I didn't know where I'm from, y'all don't know. So don't try to project and guess where I'm from. They'll say, well, you're West African. Well, how many countries are there in West Africa? West Africa isn't united. West Africa isn't united with West Africa. And then West Africa also isn't united with East Africa. East Africa isn't united with North Africa. North Africans don't even want to call themselves African. They're literally African, but I'm Arab, I'm Muslim, I'm Middle Eastern. They try to call themselves anything but African. Look at the Egyptians. Egypt is in Africa, but they try to Egyptology because they want to make the Egyptians just some dark-skinned, quote-unquote, Caucasians. And many Egyptians, they agree with it. Right now, Egyptians in this country are classified as white. Syrians, white. Palestinians, white. Lebanese, white. Now, you can say that they're not white, but legally they are classified as such. And it's only till recent that there's been any pushback. Now in 2030, they'll have MENA, Middle Eastern, North African, right? But, Israelis, they can still check the North African box, or they can check what they've always been checking, which is white. So yeah, you got to drop the goofy POC term and definitely drop the disgusting African American term. I've never called myself African American. It was an a term that was imposed on us, is what I want to say. No one in my family never used that term. We were always just black, right? Nothing wrong with being African, but again, if you go to Africa, they're going to call you what you are, an American. So it doesn't make any sense for me to be an American from America in America, but calling myself African, because this is why the people in New York, that's why they say, hey, Roger, where are you really from? And you're like, well, I'm from here. No, but where are you really from, right? But notice they never asked that to the so-called Native Americans, right? They allegedly immigrated from Siberia and they have Asiatic. Okay, so Native Americans are Asian? Well, no. It's like, yeah, because there's no race called Native American, and there's no race called Indigenous. There's no race called Choctaw. There's no race called Cherokee. So what race are these natives? There's over 560 plus federally recognized tribes. Are all of those quote unquote native tribes all the same race? We know they're not. Race is a social construct, and so is tribes. Saying that you're a Cherokee is a social construct. Saying that you're a Yoruba is a social construct. Ashkenazi, social construct. Sephardic, social construct. But shout out to Trey One. What it did do. Salute to you. He said, I refuse to listen to people who tell me I don't know who I am when they can't even keep accurate birth records and vital records. That's what I'm saying. A lot of these people, and not to disparage, a lot of these cats don't have birthdays, bruh. It's like y'all didn't have a lot of documentation, and then the documentation that they did have, a lot of it was destroyed. So I'm just saying, they're always trying to tell you, hey, you don't know where you're from. Actually, I do. My family is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, bruh. Tuscaloosa, if you look at when was Tuscaloosa, founded and created, way before Burkina Faso, way before Mali, way before Niger, way before Senegal, right? And then they'll say, oh, but it was another place before it was called Senegal. Okay, then tell me what that place was called. Right? What was Africa called before it was called Africa? Right? Because if I was a Native American, right? Because remember, they were rejecting being called American. We're Turtle Islanders. Why don't you call yourself a Native Turtle Islander then? And this place was called Turtle Islander according to who? Right? According to what? Some indigenous tribes? There were thousands of tribes. There was no powwow meeting where all of these alleged indigenous groups and said, we're going to come to an agreement and call this place Turtle Island. So no one even knows what this place was called, right? It wasn't called America. And who was it called Turtle Island by? So if I was quote unquote indigenous to Turtle Island, why would I drop that to say I'm indigenous to America? But I thought you were from Turtle Island. So you just, I don't want to hear about the colonial stuff because, many of these terms were, it was a colonial power naming them, right? Here, Creek Indians, it was a colonial power that named Nigeria. So a lot of these people, since they said, hey, I don't want to be called an Indian, call me a native, right? Or call me indigenous and all this other stuff, right? Okay, but indigenous to where? You came from a different place. So again, you're not supposed to question these things, right? So who are the true pretendians? You said from Watts to DC, how 500 black neighborhoods vanished in 45 years is the name of the link. Yeah, I know about that. Yeah, salute to Trey One. Appreciate you, bro. It shows who's the real main characters are. Well, I always say we are the standard, we are the pulse, we are the blueprint. And a lot of people don't like hearing that, but they can't refute what I'm saying. So I'm going to go ahead and transition because I can go on and on about Jimbo Django Clyburn and his disgusting misleadership, but I'm going to pivot and I'm going to discuss why delineation is the only way forward. Now, I will be reacting to a video. I just got to find this video to pull it up. So give me uno momento. And actually, while I'm waiting, I'm going to hit y'all with the intermission, 30 seconds. Hit the like button for your boy while I pull this video up. So I will be back in 30 seconds.
Be easy, tell me how it feel. Ooh, tell me how it feel. To be real, to be really that dude. Be easy, that dude. Ay, 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 that dude. Oh, be easy.
And we back at it. So I'm going to react to a video from the Daily Wrap-Up crew. So salute to those brothers over there. I did have some scrutiny when they let this, Haitian chick go over there and just kind of disrespect us. I thought, their pushback was, rather mild and meek. However, they do make great content. So salute to those brothers over there. I know at least a couple of them are foundational, and I think one of them may have a different lineage, or at the very least by ethnic. So this video is titled, "This is Why They Fear Black American Delineation." He has some freedmen representatives on there. I know the sister Brooke, and there's another brother. I forgot this dude's name. I think Roger knows him. But bro, I like bro. He be cooking. All of them be cooking. But like, we gonna see what these freedmen is talking about. Again, what is the issue with delineation? Now, I will further pack this. People don't have an issue with delineation. They only have an issue with us delineating, because it stops the tethered gravy train where anyone could just latch and culturally leech off our accomplishments, right? When flat blackness, those days are over, right? We want ethnic specificity, and everyone should be championed for this, right? If I'm eating sushi, I'm not going to give credit and say, well, Filipinos started sushi. No, they didn't. That was Japanese people. Well, it shouldn't matter because Filipinos is Asians and Japanese is Asian. So I can give credit to sushi to Filipinos if I want because they're all Asian. That would be extremely disrespectful, and you know it would. Same way as if I said samurai culture is Korean culture. Well, Koreans are Asian, so Koreans could take credit for samurai culture because they're Asians just like Japan. No, that's not how it works. Jerk chicken isn't black culture. Jerk chicken is Jamaican culture. Salute to the brothers and sisters in Jamaica. Why should their ethnic accomplishments be erased under a generic banner of flat blackness? Nah, we ain't doing that no more. So let's get into it. Again, this one is titled, "Is Black American Delineation MAGA?" Because they love to say that y'all sound like MAGA. Y'all sound like blagga. Okay. Like, first of all, if somebody, so they always love to say your ancestors fought for the right for you to vote, right? Well, my ancestors didn't die to say, hey, vote blue no matter who, right? They say they died for you to vote, but then when you say, all right, fine, I'm gonna vote Republican or vote Libertarian, you sound like MAGA. No, okay. And what's the difference between MAGA and, you know, the vote blue no matter who, no voting, no vucking cohort? What's the difference? Two cheeks on the same booty. Let's get into it.
Saying that delineation is like a form of white supremacy, or is a MAGA I guess co-op, or if you will. Well, what's your thoughts on delineation and the whole talking narrative about, you know, it being white supremacy adjacent? What's your thoughts?
Man, that's a great question, and thank you for that caveat. I think so I'm gonna disagree with the sisters on this one. I think delineation is divisive, and we are late to the party, right? And so while we're getting the pushback, and now to even that caveat, so I'm glad you said that, the reason why you get the MAGA accusations is because everybody else that delineated did it for divisiveness, right? They did it with animus. They did it with hatred. They did it so that they would not be confused with us based on all the things that we talked about earlier, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can kind of distance yourself from foundational Black Americanness, then you can be in the good graces of white folks, right? So the reason why we get the accusations is because in their heart of hearts, they know why they delineated, right? So now when we talk about is foundational Black American delineation divisive, then the answer to that is no. Mm-hmm. And so that's the nuance that I want to put on the conversation. Their delineation has always been about hate, whether it's white folks delineating from us. Everybody that has ever delineated from us has done it so that it will be to our detriment and to be to their advantage, right? We're not doing that because we don't, not that we don't care in that way, but we don't have that type of mindset. We're delineating, like Sister Keisha said, because it is about survival at this point. And so what's happening is that the MAGA accusation comes down to it's a lazy coping mechanism, right? And what happens is that anything that goes against any ideology that supports them is white supremacy, right? Even when they are parroting white supremacist tropes, they never put the white supremacist tag on themselves, even though they are being highly anti-Black, right? And by Black, I mean Foundation Black America. We can get to that portion of the conversation later down the line about who's Black, who's not, right? And why. But the bottom line is that throughout their entire processes of being anti-black, they never put the MAGA or right-wing tag on themselves. But as soon as we start to talk about anything that's going to benefit solely us, we get the MAGA tag, not just from the Afro immigrants. We get it from the Pan-Africans. We get it from the Democrats. We get it from anybody, because what we found in this delineation process, see, we're delineating again because it's a necessity as far as survival. But like you said as well, with I won't call it a diaspora war, but I will respect your opinion. But I will call it the diaspora's war against us, right? And so, what we found and what we find.
All right, now let me just react and shout out to bro. Gotta let him cook. Yeah, I'm against using that term. The diaspora war is extremely disingenuous because there's actually wars going on in the quote unquote diaspora. When I grew up, nobody was using that term. Nobody was talking about the diaspora and all this other type of stuff. This is new age. And I'm not saying the term is new. I'm talking about in terms of it being in the lexicon where everyone is trying to pretend like there's an African diaspora. No, it's not, bruh. We're American, bro, on an entirely different continent. And yes, they want to keep saying, yeah, but you're rooted back here. Why is the focus on us? Literally, we're Americans, so we're foreign to Africa, but they're trying to make it seem, no, this is your motherland. So if it's my motherland, see, I didn't have to go into an immigration system here, right? My family fought, bled, and died here. When people were being lynched, it was here. It wasn't in Africa. All of the things that was being created, it was created here. It wasn't in Africa. The inventions was invented here, not in Africa. My family fighting in all the wars, none of those wars, they fought in Africa. And there were some foundational Black Americans that went to Ethiopia and other places, South Africa and stuff. So we went to these places to help them fight. Who are the and I'm talking in modern day, who are the Africans and other people that came over to help us fight? These other groups, they come over and talk about how we're entitled and we don't take advantage of the opportunities. Many of these other groups say that we're lucky that, hey, you guys are only succeeding because we have, proximity to the W's, right? So there's a lot of worshiping. There's a lot of, dub butt kissing and crack licking. But like the brother said, delineation is divisive, but it should be, right? There's nothing wrong with dividing from someone and something that's toxic, right? If there's a group of pedos, do you want to unite with them or do you want to be divided from them, separated from them? That would be divisive, right? If there's someone on a team and they're bringing the team down because of their morale and their disparaging the team or getting into contentious spats with the team, you will want to divide that person from the team, kick them off. That would be division, right? But division is inherently bad, right? Again, Asians are delineating, so that's divisive, right? Go ahead and call a Chinese person a Korean and say that, hey, you guys are no different because you're both Asian. They will delineate, which is inherently divisive, as it should be, but divisive doesn't mean disrespect. Divisive means distinction and disaggregation in this specific instance, right? So again, look at these 500 plus so-called native tribes. Why aren't they calling themselves one big indigenous tribe, one big Indian? Why won't they call themselves the descendants of Turtle Islanders to come together? No, they're delineating, which is divisive. They're dividing themselves by their ethnic and tribal identity, right? But then they're saying, hey, just because we're divided by our tribal identity doesn't mean that we can't unite, doesn't mean that we can't come together and create something beautiful. So we can too, right? We can divide, we can be distinct with our delineation, but we can still come together, right? I will say I'm not a Jamaican, I'm not a Haitian, I'm not from Burkina Faso, Mali, Nigeria, or any of that. However, I will work with people from all of those places. I'll say, come on, my brothers and sisters, let's build. But how about we build from a place of understanding? I'm not going to erase my ethnic identity to go under a generic term of African when no one else does that. Africans in Africa don't even call themselves African. There's on the continent of Africa, there's 3,000 plus tribes, 2,000 plus dialects. Does that sound united to you? I'm in the Bay Area. Imagine you're in San Jose and you drive to San Francisco, but you can't understand the people in San Francisco because they speak a different dialect. If you're in Texas, you go from Houston to Dallas, but you can't understand. You're in New York, you go from New York to New Jersey, but you can't understand the people because they speak a different dialect. Does that sound unified to you, right? If there's some colonial powers coming over there to smack you guys around, how are you going to unify when you don't speak a different language? You don't speak a different language based on tribes, on tribalism, and you want to praise. You don't know who you are. You don't know what tribe you're from. You don't speak your own language. Okay, you speak your own language. You know what tribe you're from, and you're still being smacked around. Why y'all call yourselves black? Okay, you call yourself your tribe and then a color, right? Because you guys are against colors. The color white came and smacked your tribe around. But you didn't tell them why y'all call yourselves white. White is just a color. You didn't say that. When the white ministries came over there, they rolled out the red carpet. They were over there falling on the ground. Did you see when once the queen had passed away, they were over there crying. It's like, bro, you're a subject of the queen. You're a servant to the queen. And once your massa died, then suddenly, they were falling on the ground. It was like a piece of them was unalived. So how are we supposed to unify with these people, right? These people are around. They'll say we're all brothers and sisters. No, we're not. You were on the continent with people who literally looked exactly like you, and you said, no, we're not in the same tribe, so I can't unify with them. And then they come over here and then they try to say we're being divisive. If we're all the same, right? We're all African. We're all African American, right? But then they come over here. Oh, I want a little Haiti. I want a little Senegal. Why do you need your little ethnic enclaves? I thought we were all the same. And then when we say, fine, you know what? Keep your ethnic enclave, keep your Chinatown, keep your Koreatown. And we want our own ethnic enclave with no Chinese businesses over there, no African braid shops, no Arab 7-Elevens. And then somehow it turns into divisive. All these people want to use this as a cultural extraction hub for resources, but at the same time saying, kiss my backside. Yeah, those days are over where people just put their head in the sand and let people overtly disrespect them. And then you just quietly say, when they go low, we go high. No, when they go low, I'm going I'm gonna be where Lucifer is, right? You go low, I go to the lowest depths, just saying. You said, oh, my man, Divine Prince. I was like, I think Roger, no, bro. Where Brooklyn at? Oh, bro is from Brooklyn. Shout out to Divine. Hey, if you know Divine Prince, reach out to bro. I got to get him on here. I might have a Tim Black on here too. I did have a chat with Tim Black, not on the phone, but we exchanged some words. But shout out to the brother Tim Black, and shout out to Divine Prince. I'm gonna try to get him on. He is leading the reparations fight at state level. This is who I refer to for my knowledge. Met him in Brook from BK some months ago. Oh, you met Brook? I like Brook. And salute to that sister, right? Because I know a lot of people try to say, oh, there's no love for the dark-skinned black woman. First of all, I love women of all shades, hues, ethnicities, races, cultures, and orientations, right? However, we gotta give the respect to the appropriate, melanated sophistication, right? And you said, why you say African like that? Like what? Bro, the apron is on because I can't even really hear myself like that. And shout out to the Roguish Black Therapy. Peace to the channel and respect. I appreciate you, bro. And shout out to my boy Big Rig, the African American. But let's get back into this thing.
Is that us delineating changes the game for everybody that's not us.
Mm-hmm.
Because at one point we thought, or most of us thought, that sitting at the table that's on our backs, right? It's a meme that I saw a while ago, and it's like it's a playing board, and underneath, as the feet of the table, are Black America or Black backs, right? And we know those are foundational Black American backs in this country. And for a long time, I thought that the only people playing that board game on the backs of foundational Black Americans were the white supremacists. I'm thinking on TikTok. Were the white supremacists, right? But as we started to delineate, and I was able to, as I was straightening up my back and I was able to peek over the table, I saw a whole bunch of people's faces that looked like mine at that table as well. Because not only do the white supremacists play the game on our back, so do the Pan-Africans.
Mm-hmm.
So do the Boule.
Mm-hmm.
So do the Afro immigrants and all their corrupt leaders. So it's a big game now. It's always being played that they kept us under the table with whispers of, hold on. You got to do this for the diaspora. You got to do this for Black folks. You got to help all of us out. Not knowing that those whispers are coming from the top of the table. We think.
Honestly, I'm just sick of even hearing this term diaspora. Shout out to Big Rig and shout out to Roger in the chat and Roguish Black Therapy. Since when did y'all use this term diaspora? I know Big Rig doesn't use this term, or maybe he does, right? Even when people was growing up rocking them African medallions, which that wasn't me, but salute, because there was that circular African medallion with the leather. My uncle had one. That one was clean. I ain't gonna lie. I never had one. But what I'm saying is, back then, those people they didn't want to go back. Well, they didn't plan on going to Africa because they didn't see themselves as African. They were just giving, paying homage to what some would call the motherland. But even the term African American, which I never used that term, it's in the term. The American is in the term. Essentially, they're trying to say that you're an American, an African in America, or an American with African ancestry. But there's a bunch of white Europeans that have African ancestry. Mexico was a slave colony. There's a bunch of Mexicans that have African ancestry. Puerto Rico was a slave colony. There's a bunch of Puerto Ricans with African ancestry. But they say, I'm Latino, I'm Mexican, I'm Puerto Rican. They don't say that I'm African Mexican. They don't say that I'm African Puerto Rican. They don't say that I'm African Latino. Even the term Afro is an American term. You know what I mean? The Afro too. When you see Afro, you think of 4C hair, and you think that no, the Afro comes from the motherland. Well, the Afro comes from America. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. So I'll have to do a deeper dive on that too, because like I said, I'm a humanitarian people, so I love people of various races, cultures, creeds, and orientations, right? But I'm not going to ethnically erase myself just in the name of some pan scam goofyism. We're not doing that. Many of our elders have already done that. They've sold our culture up the river in the name of trying to unify, but it hasn't unified us. This is very idiotic. It's in the name, Pan-Africanism. You're trying to unite Africa, yet Africa is not united. Imagine that you were trying to unite Oakland, but you saying that we need somebody from Philadelphia to unite Oakland. Like, bro, what are the cats in Oakland doing? Why aren't the people from Oakland building to unite Oakland? Nobody would expect someone from Philadelphia to unite Oakland. But then people are expecting people from America to go and unite 54 countries with over 3,000 different tribes. Does that sound unified to you? So Africans in Africa aren't unified, but they want Americans to go over there and unify and do something that the Africans couldn't even do. How about you start small? How about the East Africans unite with North Africans? They don't even want to do that. They don't even want to call themselves African. Somalis don't even want to call themselves African, but they want to put that African label on you for what? And these people, they identify as their tribe. Of the 3,000 tribes, none of them are called African. Of the 3,000 plus tribes, none of them are called Black. we all black, but there's no tribe called black. There's no tribe called African. There's no country called African. So they want you to just claim some, some generic plot of land on a landmass. You really from there? It's like, no, I'm not. You never been there, but it's like, yeah, even though you never been and your mama never been and your grandma never been, y'all still from there. Okay. No, I'm not. And you said, don't start with the medallion, bro. Hey, well, you're not alone. Roger Meadows, Mr. Nassau County. Roger Meadows, bro, had cross colors. Roger Meadows had a medallion. Roger Meadows had a Gumby too. Roger Meadows had a Gumby cut with an African medallion with some cross colors and some British knights. Salute to my bro Roger, though. You said the college intellectuals of HBC used it. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, the buck broken, brain dead boule, bozos and bimbos and of course, the dub dominant society, the chosen people, the Star of David people, they all came together and said, aha, we're going to call them African American because it strips them of their sovereignty here and it gets them looking to a distant utopia, that we've already destabilized. This delineation was not taken into consideration by the current ruling elite. Correct. They didn't have this on their bingo card, so we definitely threw a monkey wrench in there because they were like, nah, they ain't gonna never delineate, especially the time, the final straw was the head tether in charge, Obama, the first biracial Kenyan president, right? So once they tried to pass them off as black and then Obama, don't take my word for it. There's video of Obama calling himself biracial. There's also video of his wife calling him biracial. But if you call him biracial, no, he's the first black president. So then when I say he's the first Kenyan biracial president, you can't say that. And I say, is he Kenyan? Yes. Is he biracial? Yes. So what did I say that was wrong? Well, you didn't say nothing wrong. It's just you gotta call him black. And then when they pressed him on being black, I'm not the president of Black America. I'm the president of all America. So why are you looking for Black America to quote unquote save your legacy? Hold your own nuts, bruh. You are for universal policy, right? So everybody should be coming to quote unquote protect this tether's legacy, right? And Barack, who's biracial, see, this is what I'm saying. Like, if he's half black and half white, or let's say he's half Kenyan and half white, he should be spending half of his time antagonizing Africans, not foundational Black Americans, but Africans. And then he should be spending the other half of the time antagonizing white people. The thing is, he tried to wag his fingers at white people and they gave him his Negro wake up call. And then he pivoted back to pull your pants up, Pookie, right? He has this fake Southern twang accent. Obama doesn't have. Obama, they all do this. AOC, bro, what is with this little fake FBA black center? It's just getting pathetic, bro. You had Kamami Collard Green Harris. You better thank a union member. It's like, bro, what? Where'd this come from? You better thank a union member because they didn't work so hard. You don't talk like that, Kamala. They had ALC. It ain't nothing wrong if you's a janitor. It ain't nothing wrong if you's a rapper. It's like, ALC, you don't talk like that, bro. And then mind you, when she's around the Latinos, she's like, oh my God, los míos, my Latinos, if you want some horchata, it's like, that's how you normally talk. And then you get around the blackety blacks and then suddenly she's with this sister girl thing. It's like, just stop. There's, blackface in auditory format. Yeah. And I think you said that before. Yeah, they threw a wrench in the whole plan. As a former Pan-Africanist, stopped in 2016. Thank goodness. Thank God for that, bro. Roguish Black Therapy. So before you was Roguish Black Therapy, you was Roguish Pan Goofy. My nigga was a Pan Goofy, but salute to the bro, Roguish. Welcome back aboard, my brother. You said the only people in our community to use it was those from the conscious community, not the average black person. This is what I'm saying. In the conscious community, they always try to pull rank and try to act like, oh yeah, man, we know, y'all just don't know this. And I'm like, bruh, think about this. It says it in the name, Pan Africa, but they're never in Africa. Imagine I call myself a Pan Oaklander, but I was never building in Oakland. I'm a Pan San Franciscan, but I didn't build anything in San Francisco. I'm a Pan Texan, but I haven't built anything in Texas. I'm a Pan African. Okay, show me what you built in Africa. I haven't built anything. I'm in America. Okay, why are you keep talking about Africa, bro? You love Africa so much and it's your motherland. Hey, salute to you, bro. Go build up Africa so I could come over there and enjoy the fruits of your labor. The fruits of, the foundational African labor, right? How the heck are you going to build up Africa if you're always in a different land? Right? How are you going to clean up your home when you're always in somebody else's house? Right? You have no time to clean up your house because you're in someone else's house, making their house clean. But then your house is a pigsty, so disgusting that you don't even want to go back to. What is masculine about that? What is mature about that? What exactly is there to respect about that? Just saying. It's wild to hear the disrespectful claiming Black Americans after disrespectfully rejecting for decades. Yes, man, I'm gonna have to run maybe I'll find some videos now, but it wasn't just the Dominicans. I know black, Papi. It was the Nigerians. I'm not black, I'm Nigerian. Why do y'all call yourselves black? I am Igbo. I am Yoruba. Fine, you're Yoruba. So you're not black. And then they say, you can't keep blackness. Actually, we can and we will. Y'all remember, say it loud. I'm what and I'm proud. Y'all fill in the blank. Say it loud. I'm what and I'm proud. Did James Brown say it loud, I'm a person of color and I'm proud? Did he say it loud, I'm an African and I'm proud? Or did he say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud? And mind you, if the Africans are so proud, why won't they make a song? Say it loud. I'm African and I'm proud. Instead, they want to tether on to blackness. But I thought you were proud to be an African. Why are you trying to make blackness and African interchangeable? African and black is not the same thing. Elon Musk is African. French Montana is African. There's a bunch of non-black Africans on the continent of Africa, many of them who are smacking the quote-unquote black Africans around. So no, as much as you want to try to make blackness synonymous with African, it's not. Blackness is synonymous with freedmen, foundational black Americans. And you said they can put our character on like a shirt. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's called cosplaying. It's called tethering, right? You tether on to this black lineage, but then you could also discard it like a jacket. And unfortunately, that's what some of these quote unquote mixed biracial people do as well. You know what I mean? Because we subscribe to the one drop rule. If you got one drippity drop, and I'm not saying whether this is right or wrong, I'm just saying what it is. If you have one drippity drop of black/negroid blood, then they'll say, welcome aboard. You're one of us. The only thing is some, not all, some of them have this identity crisis where they'll be, mixed Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, they want to turn up with the quote unquote nigga. So remember, I'm black, right? So that's the whole thing. It's always like a rite of passage for someone, that's mixed or have proximity to black people. You hear the Latinos, we grew up around blacks and that's why I say nigga. It's like, come on, bruh. I grew up around you too. I'm not calling you essay or vato, you know what I mean? Holmes. I'm not calling you any of that. If they grew up around us, that means we grew up around them. I'm not adopting their slang. I'm not trying to do anything that they do. Even when if it's a taco, like, bro, we don't make the same tacos, bro, the same burritos, bro. We just don't, bro. A lot of tacos, if you go to these places, bro, like cheese is not always mandatory, bro. Like you got to like pay extra for cheese. On our tacos, the cheese comes mando. You feel me? I'm just saying there's just different cultural nuances. Even a whole lowrider stuff. A black lowrider is not going to be the same as a Mexicano lowrider. It's just not. You know what I mean? And we don't look and be like, ooh, look what the Mexicans are doing. Let's try to emulate that. We don't do that. We be like, oh, okay. Matter of fact, if we see some Mexicans doing stuff, we be like, oh, damn, bro, they doing this stuff. All right, we got to move on to something else. If we created a dance and we seen a bunch of other people doing that, we like, damn. All right, bro, now it's time for a new dance, bro. That's how it was with breakdancing. We started breakdancing. The Latinos did it, and we was like, okay, cool. Y'all cool with it. But, we doing something on. So now it's like, well, we started it. No, you didn't. You picked up what we stopped doing. Because it's dudes that was head spinning and doing breakdancing and floor moves. But then they start going to the parties, and it's a bunch of 90s fine chicks that's twerking, you feel me? Twerking that monkey in that derriere. So what would you rather be doing? Head spinning or behind some voluptuous cakes? I'm just saying, bruh. I was way too broke back in the days to even own an African medallion, let alone cross colors. I couldn't afford a haircut, let alone a Gumby haircut. I was bummy. However, prior to the delineation movement, we were all Pan-Africans, including Tariq and Marcel. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we were the ones. Most of the Pan-Africans, are not in Africa. They're in America, which is rather goofy because it's all about the motherland. But you're in a different one. You're in a different land that you say is not your motherland. However, you're trying to convince people to go back to the motherland, even though you haven't went back, right? It's almost like, hey, man, try this food. This food is so great. All right, cool. Take a bite of it right now. It's like, I thought you said the food was so good. So why won't you take a bite of it in front of me so I can see just how good it is? How about you eat it first, right? They love to say that. Africa, Mama Africa, the air is fresher. Okay, why aren't you over there with all this fresh air and all these opportunities and all this land? So they want us to, quote unquote, go back to a place that how could you go back to someone place that you never been? It's almost like telling Roger, won't you go back to Mars where you came from? It's like, bro, I never been to planet Mars, right? So I never been to the continent, but I'm supposed to go back there because of some vicarious reason. Pan-African is an ideology, but when Black Americans participate, we do it, but we do everything. We galvanize it, and we're the only ones doing it. I would say this. What you need to do is you need to capitalize the B in Black, and you need to capitalize the A in Americans. Put some pride on our lineage. Capital B for Black, capital A for Americans, because you got a capital P for Pan. What, Pan Pizza, Peter Pan? And you got a capital A for African, which I think that's appropriate. But don't uppercase the Pan and the African and then lowercase Black and Americans, right? Because then you lend credence to Black is just a color. No, Black is a color to you. Black is not a color to me. Go tell white people that white is just a color, right? Go tell the white supremacists that it's just a color. It's more than a color to them, right? And words have multiple meanings, right? A word could be a color. It could be, you know what I mean? Bear could be, it can be an animal bear, or it can be bearing arms, or it can be bare booty. Same word, different spellings, different meanings. But put some respect on the Blackness, capital B, and put some respect on my homeland, America, capital B for Black, capital A for American. Well, it doesn't matter. You say it's a culture. It's more than a culture, right? But even if it's a culture, you got it right. The capital B. Just like if you're spelling someone's name. If someone's name is Timothy, you put a capital T. If someone's name is Karen, you put a capital K. It's just grammatically correct, but it is just a respect thing as well. So we gotta, I expect it from others, but we got to have respect for ourselves. I'm not putting a capital A for African and a lowercase b for Black. No, we're not doing that. But I will capitalize everything because I'm a man of respect. But you said the essays don't know who they want to be while trying their best to be wannabe. Bruh, because many of those essays, there's no race called essay. There's no race called Mexican. There's no race called Latino or Hispanic. Many of the so-called essays actually are racially white. Blancamiento, mejoró la raza. Many of them are racially white. It's difficult to get folks to acknowledge that while using as their final form source. Yeah, we'll always say that we are the source, the pulse, the standard. Let's get back into the video.
And it was coming from somewhere, like it was some ancestral voice that was whispering to us, right? Like Mufasa and the Lion King. And what we found out was that was other people playing the game, making sure they kept us at the bottom. And so, delineation is not divisive. But I will say this, because we know the accusations are going to come. And I was watching the play Hamilton, not when it was in the theaters, because on Broadway, because I couldn't afford that. But when they put it on Disney Plus, I watched it, right? And it was a line in there that Hamilton says, and Manuel says it because he's playing Hamilton, and he says, "I'd rather be divisive than indecisive." And that stuck with me, because despite us knowing that it's not divisive, if that's who I gotta be, right, to make the decision that I didn't make for my people and how we move forward, then I'll be that, right? I will be divisive if that's what it takes, because I already know that your delineation was based on divisiveness anyway from the start. And here's what's really powerful about it, and how we know, like I said, it's a coping mechanism.
Oh, and shout out to the lovely Sincere. Sincere, I didn't even know you was in here. I gotta call you Slick and Sly, but you still fly, because I didn't know you were still in here. But appreciate the sophisticated. And you said Hamilton is offensive. There's a lot of things that are offensive, but this is why people say chew the meat and spit out the bones. And you said plan with that unfinished business. Now I'm gonna play a little bit more of this, and then if any of my folks, and like I said, I don't have time for the trolling, because I'm gonna play a little bit more of this, and then I'm gonna transition to my final story, which is beware of frenemies. So, and shout out the uncomfortable truth. We got FBA for life in the building. Salute to the Friedman family. When Sabrina had Divine on, she had to calm all the women in the chat down. Oh, dang. All the women in the chat was trying to get some soul pole. Hey, you feel me? They say black don't crack. And if you do crack, it may be a female from the Bizac. I'm just saying. But salute to the bro Divine. Tell the Divine to slide through over here. And I appreciate you, Uncomfortable. And shout out to the 504 boy is still in the building. Let's get back into this thing now.
And it's because what we do disrupts the system. And I'll talk about New York, since we're all New Yorkers and that's where we're at right now. Was the AAPI community divisive when they disaggregated and delineated? Because the state of New York pushed that bill and signed it in 2024.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Now let's talk about the AAPI, right? Pacific Islanders are considered Asian. They're all Asian. Why would they want to divide themselves? They said, no, we don't want to be labeled as just a generic Asian. We're Pacific Islanders. And that's all we're saying. We don't want to be labeled as just some generic random African. No one took a poll and said that, hey, do you guys want to call yourself African American? It was imposed. They took some quote unquote community leaders and said, hey, these people are part of the Boule. They're educated. They have church ties, and they conceded with the DNC and, that special chosen community, you know what I mean? And we're going to call you African American. They had took a poll, and I think it was either with like Jet or Essence magazine back before it was tetherfied. And most people said they'd rather be called black. So black was the number one. Number two was Afro-American. And in the end, it was African-American. Now, there was a bunch of old people that maybe they did have some roots that they can trace back to. But at the bare minimum, the least amount of time that a foundational Black American has been here is 500 years, and that's the least. Many people could trace way back further than that, but let's just stop with 500 years. They'll acknowledge, yeah, y'all been here for at least that, but you still have to look back to Africa? Like, come on, bruh. In your own city, bruh. If you pick a city, bro, if you're from Brooklyn, bruh, and you've moved away from Brooklyn to, Piscataway, New Jersey, right? And you've lived there for 30 years. Cat's gonna be like, bro, you ain't from Brooklyn no more, bro. You from Jersey now. That's what people will say. But then if you're from, you haven't quote unquote been to Africa for over 500 years. Yeah. But you're still from there though. So how many years does it take for you to not be from there? Right. Because again, the so-called natives, right? They were Asiatic people. Okay. So when did the natives stop being Asian? Right. Allegedly they came from Siberia and they were Asian. Okay, fine. All right. There's no race called Native American. There's no race called indigenous. So what race are these native people that you're talking about? The red man. Okay. There's no race called red man. What race are they? And then suddenly no one wants to answer it. And then they pivot and start talking about tribes. Yeah, but those tribes don't represent a racial makeup. Then people start talking about how race is a social construct and blase, blase. Yeah, it is. It's a social construct that you adhere to. So I don't want to hear about it being a social construct. Religion is a social construct. It's not inherent, right? It's nothing natural about religion. It's a social construct, but you adhere to it, right? God said this. Did he? It's in the Bible. But how do you know God said that? Because it's in the Bible and God said it. Yeah, but did you hear from God? No, but someone put it in the Bible. Who put it in the Bible? A man. Did that man talk to God? No, but they know God said it. So did anyone talk to God? Yeah, so-and-so talked to God. How do you know that God told them that? Well, they put it in a book that's been revised thousands of times, a book that has thousands of copies, and all of them are saying, no, this is the real book, right? Guess what that is? A social construct. But let's get back into it.
2021, excuse me, because the Chinese, the Cambodians, the Koreans, the Japanese, the Filipino, the Thai, they wanted representation. Was the MENA group, Middle East and North Africans, were they divisive when their bill got signed in 2024? No. MENA was trying to get out of whiteness, because if you're from the Middle East or North Africa.
Shout out to bro with the latchkey. It's a bunch of latchkey kids in the chat, bro. Like, we grew up on the latchkey stuff. It wasn't no babysitter. That's why I see people paying thousands and thousands for babysitters. No, whoever was the oldest sibling, you were you the captain now, right? We babysit each other, right? And then if your parents came home and you did something out of place, yeah, you was in for a rude awakening, corporal punishment. You got some, belt to booty. And bare booty at that. But the thing is, with the latchkey kids, it was lit because, like, when you came home, it was like everybody had to come in before the lights came on. And I'm like, bruh, I ain't trying to just be chilling in the house. So by the time you was chilling, the lights come on, your parents just getting home from work. It all worked out, right? I think, latchkey kids, although there were some toxic elements, I think that it did build more resolve, more maturity, and more mental fortitude in the kids. So salute to all the latchkey kids out there. They're trying to do disaggregation bill in New York State that would delineate us on paper, because that is the first step before reparations is handed out. Now think about this. If all of these pan goofies were our brothers and sisters, they should be aboard with us. They say, yes, our brothers and sisters from America, they need to delineate so they can have ethnic specificity. So they should be championing this on, right? Because they love to delineate when they're flying a flag. It's Haitian Flag Day. It's Jamaican Independence Day, right? That's delineation, right? But then when it comes to Black History Month, they want to try to make it about global African populations. It's like, nah, bro, this ain't about, every person with a drop of melanin in the quote unquote diaspora. It's about foundational Black American freedmen. So all of these other pan goofies, they should be the main ones saying, look, we do need to delineate, and people need to just stop making delineation about reparations. This is one of the most idiotic and just intellectually lazy, arguments that people are putting forward. Yes, I support reparations, lineage based, not race, and direct cash payments, amongst other investments. However, Delineation isn't just about reparations, and a lot of people just keep making about that, and it's muddying the waters, and it's also preventing progress, because when you're only talking about reparations, you need to be talking about this disaggregation, right? Before we can get the reparations, we need to disaggregate the data, so you can't try to put the cart before the horse. Not only that, we need to be talking about the anti-black hate crime bill. I know Roger likes to talk about worker co-ops and all this other stuff, right? There's a multitude of reasons to delineate, but also another thing is just for the cultural achievements and accomplishments, right? For instance, when Usain Bolt wins the world championship, nobody is just looking and saying, this is a win for black people across the globe, which, essentially it is, and it could be, but we're talking about who gets cultural credit, right? And we can't just say, hey, this was a black accomplishment. No, Usain Bolt is a proud Jamaican. We shouldn't strip Jamaica of their right to uphold this accolade and accomplishment to erase it under a banner of flat blackness. Usain Bolt is a phenomenal Jamaican athlete. Don't just simply call him black to erase him from his true heritage, right? And that's all delineation is. So again, when we're creating these things, jazz was created here. There was nothing African about jazz, but you have to pretend, well, if you call yourself African American, then by default, then suddenly Africa has something to do with it. Because where are the jazz players right now? Who name the, original jazz players in and from Africa? Name the original hip hop artists from and in Africa. It just doesn't exist. I'm talking about the pioneers, the origins. Now, hip hop and all of these genres are global phenomenons. Now people adopt them, but they adopt them because we created it here. It was created here based on the conditions here, right? So if we were in Africa, we would have created something different, but we're not African. And we weren't in Africa, so we created based on the environment, right? So it's just like if you're trying to plant a rose in some fertile soil and then a rose in some contaminated soil and say, well, it's all soil, so it should grow and produce the same flower. We know that's not what's going to happen. If you chain a junkyard dog up in the junkyard and then you have a lassie dog that's running around, like the Little House of the Prairie show, right? Are those dogs going to have the same outcome? Are they going to be having the same temperament? We know it's not, right? So we just got to stop pretending that if someone has a certain level of melanin, that, hey, we're all the same, right? I don't take credit I'm not going around taking credit for Egyptian pyramids, right? Now, I can say that these people were melanated. I can say that they were African and these were created prior to the Arab invasion, but I'm not taking credit for that.
You was white prior to 2024, right? So if you was Egypt, Syria, Saudi Arabia, those people are white when they come to America. And that's a whole nother question. I mean, a whole nother conversation, like Sister Lovely was talking about when you tell them who's white and who's not, and when they jump in and out of that. But the bottom line is that it's only the...
Oh, snap. What the? Kimmy? I gotta hit Kimmy.
Oh, damn. Dr. Fresh. Wait a minute. I know you. Wait a minute.
Salute to Kim West. Are you in the West? Are you on the West Coast? The West Side? West Oakland? Where you at, Kim? Salute to Kim West. And Kim, is that a bonnet on your head? Don't go to a HBCU. You might get kicked out. But I'm just joking. I'm feeling the bang yang. I like the bang, and I liked the head wrap. Salute to Kim West. Let's get back into it. Kim the cool kid. Let's get back into it. Hold up.
Divisive when we do it. Just the same way we're the only community that gets undermined and our towns get bombed. Why? Because of who we are. Because of our unique constitutional relationship with this country.
That's right.
When we are empowered, it has the potential and the possibility.
And I do want to give a shout out to everyone that's viewing this live concurrently. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. I'm going to pivot to another story right after this one, and it will be about beware of frenemies. And if you haven't hit the like button yet, feel free. It won't cost you a fee. Like, sharing, commenting, engaging with the chat, telling a friend to tell a friend. It's all free. Let's get back into it.
Abilities to upend the entire system, because the system was not built on anti-black. And so that is a myth that has been going on for too long, and that's what they come in on, the Afro-immigrants and the Pan-Africans. They prey on that particular notion. I want everybody to know moving forward, from this point forward, that this country was built on anti-foundational Black Americanness.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else that comes in catches the strays, no pun intended, from looking like, acting like, or proximity to foundational Black Americanness. And how do we know that? Because when we were being enslaved, you had Africans coming and going. You had Caribbeans coming and going that weren't enslaved. During Jim Crow, you had Africans and Caribbeans petitioning this government to give them pins, so that when they went around the Jim Crow South, people would know that they were not foundational Black American.
Speak on it.
But if it was just based on race, then there would be nothing you could do. But it was never based on race. And that kind of segues to the other conversation you have. See, because Black in this country always meant our ethnic group. But because we were the only Black ethnic group here, you didn't have to make any distinction.
Makes sense. Yeah, I get it.
After 1965, you get people in that the government is now calling Black, and now all of a sudden Black becomes a racial category. And so because we are now exposing all of this from top to bottom, now that's why we're gonna get called everything in the book. I don't know what's gonna be next, right? But my position from where I sit is that whatever I have to be, see, it's a Black American proverb, pun intended, that my mother taught me. It's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. So you could call me whatever you want. I'll be all of that. The only thing I'm answering to, though, is foundational Black American.
Abolish ICE. I have a hard time.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and transition to the final story. Yeah, you can call me whatever, but the only thing I'm truly responding to is foundational Black American freedmen, because I'm not an African American. I don't know anything about Africa, the continent, or the culture. And it's not just because I'm some long lost generic African and I don't know. No. My family is rooted here. They love to talk about your roots. You need to get in touch with your roots. Yeah, my roots are here. My family is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Tuscaloosa is an indigenous name, which was filled with indigenous population. Tuscaloosa is older than most of these modern African nation states. Even at the time when they were talking about Africa, people in Africa weren't calling themselves African. This was a name and a term imposed on people, right? And now that people are rejecting it, people are saying, wait, you can't do that. And why? Why are people fighting so hard for us to call ourselves generic Africans? And mind you, they love the term African so much, but then they just keep trying to call themselves Black. No, we're Black. Why won't you call yourself African? Well, we all Black, but I thought you said we're all African. So why are you trying to make Black interchangeable and synonymous with African? It's not. It's just not, right? Maybe at some points you thought it was, but go to the continent of Africa. There's a bunch of non-Black Arabs who are African. There's a bunch of Chinese people over there, you know, and they are setting up shop and they're saying, yeah, you can't tell us we're not African, right? And many Africans, not all, but many of them are just getting smacked around, right? Straight up, North Tulsa. Yeah, Tulsa. If you look at Oklahoma, all of these are considered indigenous names. Dakota and all this stuff, you know. I'm a Louisiana. My roots are in magnolia trees. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And shout out to the 504 boy. Woody. Yeah, bruh. I don't, you know, shout out to Killer Cam, bro, because Killer Cam said, bro, I'm not African, bro. I did this sick obsession. Man, I'm just tired of it, bro. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this final story about being aware of frenemies. So I'm going to play a little bit of the lovely Six the Goddess, because this is going to tie into, you know, some of the Nolan Wells. There's been this other young melanated girl. She went over to a sleepover with 3 of her so-called dub friends, and then, you know, they were brutalizing her, abusing her. There's been multiple instances where people go on with these quote unquote frenemies, and then they don't always make it back alive. So we are going to get into that. But before we do, I got to pull this video up. But before we do, I'm going to hit y'all with a 30-second intermission. If you haven't hit the like button yet, go ahead and hit that like button.
If you feel the vibe, like, share, and subscribe. We growing on this journey. Come and take a ride. If you wanna slide with that dude, be easy. We going all the way to the top, believe me. All the way to the top, believe me.
Okay, so here's this video we'll be reacting to from Six the Goddess. So if you want to watch this video uninterrupted on her page, it's titled, "So What's Up With All This Overly Going Cooning?" The Nolan, what's up with all this? I think maybe she said overtly, but essentially saying what's going on with all of this coonery. So I'm gonna play this because I think the first part of her thing, it leads into segues into what I'm about to say, right? Because the coonery is, you know, it's surpassing levels of 9,000.
I mean, my God. Peace and love, family. It's your girl, Six the Goddess. And keep in mind, I'm a goddess and I'm sensitive about my shift. Hope you all are doing well. I was doing better before I realized, okay, the level of raccoon behavior going on right now, okay? Raccoon behavior has hit all-time highs. I mean, my God. We've always had those few Uncle Toms, you know, we've always had those raccoons, but geez, is something in the water? Like, what is really happening?
Salute to the sister Six. Love you, sis. But I will have to say we have to retire the term Uncle Tom. The appropriate term to call out the sellouts is Sambo. Maybe you've been used to called Uncle Tom and you think Uncle Tom sounds sexier and it sounds more effective. However, it's a misappropriate term. Uncle Tom comes from the book Uncle Tom's Cabin. Many of you guys have seen the movie Django. Think of it like this. In the movie Django, Uncle Tom would have been Jamie Foxx, which would have been Django. The Sambo would have been Steven, which is Samuel Jackson. And nobody who watched the movie Django would have called Jamie Foxx and Uncle Tom, or Django and Uncle Tom. Now, many people have been conditioned to just blurt out the word, "You're a Tom, you're an Uncle Tom," and all this stuff. But it's like, who and what are you talking about? You don't even know where the term comes from. It's just like I heard like a little young dub girl, and she was talking about "Bye, Felicia," and I asked her, "Do you know where that comes from?" And she said no. So a lot of people will say terms and they don't even know where it comes from. So this is why they say, hey, if you want to keep things away from a particular demographic, you put it in a book. Where there was a book. It was called Uncle Tom's Cabin. And Uncle Tom would have been the good guy. So again, you're calling people Uncle Tom. Do you know what you're actually saying? So again, the appropriate term is sellout. And obviously we say raccoon, you know, for censorship purposes. But if you drop the RA, you know what I mean. You know what we're really saying. So let's tighten that up.
Now, my typical way of dealing with raccoons is being completely indifferent and ignoring them. If I see you're a raccoon, I'm cutting you off. If I see you're a raccoon, rage baiting for attention, I will block you and make sure I don't give you any views. That's how I handle them. I don't believe they are real people. I don't believe they deserve any respect. Anybody who disrespects our ancestors and their sacrifices and contributions, anybody who lacks.
Yeah, I know about that story as well. And there was a bunch of, I know Professor Black Truth, he covered where there was a bunch of West Indians. When the West Indians came over, they were trying to say, hey, me no black. I am not like those Negroes over there. There was a viral video recently of a Nigerian chick. It was a dub woman, and she kept calling her, you know, she kept dropping the N-bomb on her. She was like, why are you calling me that? I'm Nigerian. So essentially saying, and then there was a Jamaican chick where they were abusing a Jamaican chick, and she was like, why won't you unalive a black American? Bombaclot. It's like, huh? Like, I thought we all black. Instead, she delineated, I'm Jamaican, you know, Bombaclot, you know, go unalive a stupid black American. It's like, wow, that's how you tell us how you really feel. And you said pilgrims are turning up for the 250. Sixton came a long way from bashing the black manosphere. You know what? I didn't really see her content then, but if she was bashing the black manosphere, I'm okay with that, because many of the black manosphere, let's call it what it is. It was the coonosphere, the clownosphere, the dweebosphere, the geekosphere. That's all it was. Now, I knew some of those cats, and when it started out as if it was, we were empowering brothers, we were uplifting brothers, I respected that. But when it came into, you know, all black women ain't ish and all this other type of stuff, it's like, bruh, if you got you a snow bunny, a snow dragon, or a salsa bunny, you should be happy, right? I'm not saying you specifically, Roguish, I'm just popping it in general, right? Many of these passport bros, passport hoes, and passport pompous pricks, if you got a passport and you're over there living your best life, why are you talking about black women? That's where it just got like the coonosphere to me, bruh. These people will go, man, you go over to Nicaragua, you go to Colombia, you go to Thailand, you get this, this, and that. Okay, now you're in Thailand. Some of you dudes was dealing with lady boys, but hey, that's your thing. If you want to deal with a lady boy, fine. But you're going over there living your best life, but you still talking about black women? I thought you were done with them, right? I thought you were MGTOW. You're going your own way, but still you're reaching back to talk about black women. That's rather pathetic, bro. And it just shows you that, you know, that a lot of these dudes, they're just a bunch of like, you know, remember there was that red pill rage. It's like, bro, do you hear how effeminate that sounds? You got rejected by a bunch of chicks and now you got red pill rage. Even the concept of a red pill, it's supposed to be in you, not on you. And you know what the thing that's in you? A pill. Because you didn't have enough game. You didn't have enough acumen and intellect. So you had to pop a pill. I'm just saying, like, you know, which would a chick prefer, right? A dude that's over there that has a rock hard, you know what I mean? A rock hard erection from natural, you know, natural testosterone, or the dude that has to take a honey pack all the time? Which one would you value more, right? So again, which will you value more? I'm over here popping it to you off the dome. None of this is rehearsed. None of this is scripted. I'm giving you the game, giving you the gems just off the dome, versus someone that has to regurgitate some talking points that they heard from someone else. Hold on, baby. Before I give you the game, let me pop my red pill. It's like, okay, like, do your thing then. So yeah, I'm a men's right activist, but yeah, just as much as there was a lot of the bigotry in the quote unquote white manosphere, there's a lot of coonery in the black manosphere. And they were doing the same thing as the black fatigue. I got black fatigue. I got black woman fatigue. And then they just make a bunch of content about black women. I thought you already moved on for black women. So why are you whining about them again? Just was, you know, some rather juvenile joke type of content. She inevitably saw the ways of the logical brother. Well, salute to her to finally see the light, right? Because there were some coons that, you know, finally saw the light, and, you know, maybe she had her head in the sand, you know, maybe she got inundated with some of that black male vitriol, but looked like she came around. Now, I didn't see any of that content, but I just call balls and strikes and I chew out the meat. Spit out the bones. Simp, stuck in minion position, right? Yeah, or suckers infatuated with mediocre pussy. That's another acronym for simp. These MFs are locked into being a minion for the benefit of their community adversaries. Yeah, I can't rock with that. I can't respect it. Nothing mature about that. Nothing masculine about that. A lot of them cats was straight up agents. Yeah, I concur. That's why I said it was the coonosphere and the clownosphere. And this goes for both of them, right? There was a lot of the agents in the quote unquote white manosphere, right? A lot of those white dudes, they had wives and then they're over here trying to tell young dudes, get a vasectomy, do all this stuff. It's like, bruh, like when you were their age, you didn't even have no chicks. Now these dudes is 50 and because they got money, they're pretending like they got the game. It's like you don't have mouthpiece, bro. You have a MasterCard or you have an Amex, bro. So it's like that can't compare to someone that has, you know, a platinum tongue, right? A platinum tongue is superior to a platinum card. A platinum card is plastic, right? There's nothing plastic about me, right? There's nothing plastic about this mouthpiece, right? Steel side. And shout out to Marky Deasy. You said, Roguish, do you participate in the Gauntlet streams with Ben Balderson? I don't know who that is. You said, okay. All right, well, shout out to Marky Deasy. All right, let's get back into this thing. So just to let y'all know, this will be the final topic, and I'm talking about beware of frenemies. Do any of y'all have frenemies? It just doesn't even make sense. If you know someone is a frenemy, why are you allowing them to get that close to you?
The survival skills as to not perpetuate stereotypes that could even put you, your seeds in a bad position at some point. I already know my number one rule is if you don't know how to preserve yourself, I know you can't preserve me. If you don't know how to protect yourself, if you're that person where because a Black person hurt you or stole from you or broke your heart to where you're willing to put yourself, your family, your seeds, and everyone that look like you in danger, there's nothing else for us to talk about, okay? But I feel like
I'm with her on that too, because a lot of times people will try to do that. We killing ourselves. What about black on black crime? It's like, come on, bruh. When the Mexican cartel is chopping heads off, guess what group of people they're doing that to? Other Mexicans. Find me the videos of Mexicans talking about, what about Mexican on Mexican crime? What about brown on brown crime? Find me those videos. So this is what people will do. Well, I got robbed by a Black person, so the entire Black community didn't rob you. So if a Black person robs you, then suddenly the entire community has to answer for it. Well, I've been received a lot of racial hatred from white people. So if a few white people are racist towards me, then shouldn't I generalize the entire population as racist? No, that would be unfair. But isn't that what y'all do to Blacks? One crusty, musty, dusty nigga from Chicago does a drive-by and suddenly we all have to answer for it. So the white community, they don't have to answer for this shooter who just went and shot up a In-N-Out burger, right? They don't have to answer for these mass shootings, right? Or mass unalivings, but we have to answer from some random dude in Philadelphia doing a drive-by that you don't know. And he's being held accountable. What more do you want? The person did a drive-by. He was caught on camera and then was given a lengthy jail sentence. And then they still want you to hop online. What about black on black crime? What about it? Me whining about quote unquote black crime on a podcast. What is that actually doing to mitigate and or eradicate the crime? And actually crime is at the lowest historical levels in many of these major cities. Is it still happening? Yes. Is it still a problem? Yes. But you got to look at the system that wants the crime to persist. If crime just continues to plummet, then guess what? These cops won't need overtime. These cops won't continue to need militarized advanced weapons. But if every year they keep whining about crime, they keep telling you how bad crime is, then guess what? They'll need more dogs and more drones and more overtime, right? But think about this. They get every year, they get millions and millions of dollars, but they're not stopping any crime. They always talk about they fear for my life. I'm doing a dangerous job. Well, if you're scared, go to church. You signed up to do this dangerous job, so cue the tiny violin. I don't want to hear the victimhood. So I'm supposed to walk through a notorious neighborhood in Oakland or Richmond, and the Dems want to practice gun control, right? Because you don't need a gun. You just need a cell phone to call the cops. Meanwhile, the cops are saying, no, we fear for our life. They have a canine dog. We fear for our life. They have a robot dog. They have a drone. They have all sorts of grenades, smoke grenades, frag grenades. They got M16s, AKs, ARs, MP5s. They got tasers that can hit you running away. They got battle tanks. They got helicopters, the ghetto birds. And still, every year they're saying they need more money and they fear for their life. If I handed you a M16, a Sig Sauer, and a K9 dog, would you still be fearing for your life? Why are they always fearing for their life? They train to shoot. I fear for my life. They train to work out. I fear for my life. They have backup. Not only do they have a backup dog, they have a backup officer. And then if they get on the horn, they're going to have backup officers come expeditiously. And guess what? All of them are saying, I fear for my life. It's like, come on, bruh. Are you guys just cowardly or scary? And then they try to say, no, you don't understand what it's like to be a cop. It's like, well, I mean, you could always get a desk job. And then they say, no, they don't want to get a desk job. Well, I don't want to hear you complaining. I don't want to hear you complaining about how dangerous the job is, right? There's people that are doing much more dangerous jobs than you, right? And they don't have, speed dial of the SWAT team. So yeah, this whole crime is out of control. No, it's not. And if it was out of control, it's because they let it be out of control because they want overtime and they want more funding. And they always tell you can't throw money at the problem. But somehow when it comes to policing, all they want to do is throw money at the problem. If you kept giving someone money, but they kept failing, would you give them more money? So that's why they're against defund the police, but they're failing, right? Every year they're getting more and more money, and then they keep complaining about the same thing. Imagine you gave someone money to clean up your house, and then every year they keep complaining about the house being dirty. How much more stuff do you need? I gave you extra maids. I gave you a vacuum cleaner. I gave you a steam cleaner. Yeah, but the house is dirty. It's like, bro, how much more do you need? They keep saying, oh yeah, man, crime is out of control. They have more cameras than they ever did. They have more advanced weaponry than they ever did. They talk about, oh, they know where all the crime is happening. Most crime is happening in a centralized area. These cities are in a war zone, so they know where the crime is happening, but they can't do anything to stop it. They have all of these, gizmos and gadgets, but it's not stopping crime because they don't want to.
With the Nolan Wells case going on, it has just brought out between a Nolan Wells case, between Carmelo Anthony case, I feel as though it has brought out so much raccoon behavior to the point where it's like, okay, I just want to lightly touch on it. I want to talk about how they become that way, why they do what they do, and how they need to be handled. Okay. So I'm going to pull.
Correct. Yeah, there's a whole system behind locking people up, right? From the JPay, once they're the prison system, like on average in California, the taxpayer is on the hook like $80K per prisoner, right? And mind you, rather than giving this prisoner, hey, look, man, we don't want you being a jailbird going back and forth, and we don't want to keep housing you. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this voucher. You can only spend it on X, Y, and Z to have these job training stuff, right? Rather than invest like $5,000 into a person, they'd rather lock him up. And this is why they always talk about crime and people are champion. Yeah, man, we got to get tough on crime. It's like, bro, I thought you were a fiscal conservative. So you want to lock these people up where the taxpayers are on the hook for 80 to 100K per prisoner? That's nothing fiscally conservative about that. Many people are locked up for non-violent drug offenses. You know how many black people they thrown in there for selling weed, and now they have non-black people selling metric tons of weed. They locked a dude up for having less than a pound. Some of these dudes didn't even have an ounce. But now these dudes are selling metric tons that you got to ship it on a yacht or something, right? But they're saying, hey, but it's legal now, right? Okay, if it's legal now, why do you still got people locked up and then they do you do the crime, you do the time? But no one truly believes that. The Epstein people in that list, they did the crime. Who's doing the time, right? Trump allegedly did the crime, but what time did he do? The incentive is to keep the 13. There you go. In order to keep those prisons full, they got to keep demonizing crime. And then when people start to cut back on the violent crime, then they start, picking more people up for shoplifting, loitering, and things like that, where on the books it is a crime, but it's a non-violent drug offense. But they convince you that, hey, all criminals are just like, Scarface running and terrorizing the city. Yeah, the people that are terrorizing the city, lock them up, keep them locked up. But somebody that was slanging and selling a little bit of extra on the side just to feed his family, it's like, I mean, should the taxpayer really be on the hook for $80K to house a prisoner? Just saying. And then they're not really housing them to do anything that when they get out, they'll be able to sustain themselves. And so they'll have these prisoners out there fighting wildfires that some of the fire departments don't even want to fight. But then when those prisoners get out, no fire department will hire them, right? So I think there needs to be a better transition to get these people acclimated back into society. But since they don't want to do that, we have to call it out and just say what it is, right? Because slavery was never abolished, right? All criminals aren't the same. And let's not talk about the innocently incarcerated. Yeah, of the exonerations, over 53% of them are foundational Black Americans or just Black Americans in general, right? So many of the quote unquote crime records are very skewed. When they talk about 1350, that's a lie, right? Because it's presuming that 13% of the population is committing all the crime. And when you say 13% of the population, there's a percentage of that, right? The majority of the community is not committing crimes, and especially not violent crime. It's less than 1% of the population. So then they'll say 13%, right? But of that 13% population, is less than 1% of the 13% that's committing the crime. So rather than focus on the 99% that's not committing these violent, heinous acts, we have to over fixate on the quote unquote, and it's not even 1%, it's 0 point something percent. And don't take my word for it. All you have to do is, I mean, I can do it in real time, but y'all can do it too. All you got to do is take all of the murders and or the murks, you feel me, all of the murkings in the country last year, and we know all Black people didn't commit all of them, but hey, y'all love to blame us. Take all of the murks that was committed last year, and then what you do is you take, since they blame Black men, you take the Black male population and then you divide it by the numbers of Merkins and see what number you get. It won't even be 1%, right? So no one is saying that there's not a problematic amount. No one is not saying that there's not a significant amount to address. But again, they say numbers don't lie. So if numbers don't lie and the number is less than 1% of the population that's slaughtering and doing these heinous acts, why should everyone else have to face the backlash and vitriol of something that they didn't do, right? Because if that's going to be the standard, then we got to keep that standard uniform across the board. They do the fire program to get time taken off their bid. Correct. I know they do it for that, but what I'm saying is when they are getting that time taken off the bid, they're doing a very high risk and dangerous job that many of the seasoned firefighters don't even want to do. So they've shown the propensity and oftentimes the acumen and ability to do said job. It's just because of their quote unquote record, they can't do it. But right now, if your house was on fire and there was a dude that was tatted up and had a couple felonies, but he was good at his job and was able to save you. And he comes and saves you from a burning building and you're coughing. Excuse me, I know you're saving me from a burning building, but do you have a felony? Nobody would care. I see a bunch of these firemen that don't have felonies and they're tatted up like a biker gang. You know what I mean? So it's just very disingenuous to show that, hey, look, these people are good enough to put out a dangerous fire only when they locked up. But then when they're free, no, you're not good enough to put out a fire. You know what I mean? 60% of the exonerations, correct. Colorado, Nebraska, Utah, Alabama, Oregon, Tennessee, Vermont. These states closed the 13th Amendment via ballot measure. So Roger loves to talk about the CBI. So y'all look into that, the Citizen Ballot Initiative. You don't have to wait for these corrupt and crooked leaders. You're waiting for democracy. Take the democracy to them. So let's play a little bit more of the video. And remember, I will be shutting it down pretty soon. Oh, we got none other than the Brownsville bully, Cloudness 45 Sim. What it did do. Salute to Cloudness, the Brody. I asked where Brooklyn at, and Brooklyn has arrived. Bro, I've been on almost 3 hours, bro. Like, I'm at 2 hours and 51 minutes, so I'm about to shut it down pretty soon. But I appreciate you for sliding through. Cloudness 45 Sim. Talking about frenemies, and you need to beware of them.
This up. Now, we've already been discussing these type of things in my Patreon. Okay, I have 2 different Patreons. I'd like to have you there. One of my some way. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. All right, now the glasses are going on, honey, and when the glasses go on, I mean business. All right, let's get this queued up and take a look at this. Now, I'm warning y'all right now. Y'all are about to see, my God, today, the highest level of coonery. And you know what? Let me just cue it up. I'm getting ahead of myself. 1 second. Now, we're going to try, we're not going to watch too much of this. I just wanted to show y'all this short clip because it's the one where I said, oh God, this is so damn pathetic. So let me go ahead and show y'all this.
Charlie Kirk said black men like you were better off during slavery. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, listen, 100%.
You believe 100%?
Wait, you after slavery, let me
look at the white man's face. This is when you know that it's really bad, when even white people, the guy on the end was like mind blown. You know it's bad when even white people are just flabbergasted at your level of coonery. You know what I'm saying? That's when you know it's real bad.
You're saying you
maybe you don't know black history. No. You don't understand black history, and you don't understand what Charlie was saying. Listen, after slavery, there was an explosion of success in the black community. We had Black Wall Street. We were married to the women we had children with. Black people had a tremendous amount of success. Our success was growing faster than white people.
Okay. Now, that's the clip that made me say, you know, what are we doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Now, this is why it is so important to assimilate your children into Black culture from the second they're born. Okay. It is so important. It was so interesting. I had a conversation with my son the other day, you know, and we were talking about the Nolan Wells case. And I said, you know, kind of as a joke, kind of just as part in jest, I'm like, so what would you do if a group of white boys asked you to go out on a boat or go camping with them? And he looked at me and he was like, I don't have any white friends. And I was like, that's why you my dog right there. Even better. You're going to go far, kid. Okay. And with my son from young, okay, I homeschooled him in an Afrocentric setting with a bunch of children that look like him. Everyone who has loved on him and supported him has looked like him. And when you do not assimilate Black children around their own young enough, they lose the ability to comfortably fit in with their own people. We all know that Black person where it's like, I'm not your sister girl and I'm not your brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm not your sister girl. We all know, like, you go somewhere, you look at someone, you're kind of looking for the black people acknowledgement, and they're kind of like not making no eye contact. You bring them into a super black environment, they're uptight, they're like this. We all know that type. So if you, and that is to me a part of the lesson in the Nolan Wells case, was for Nolan to have that many white people around him. Clearly his parents felt as though proximity to whiteness would make him better off, which is, I think, part of the lesson in this.
That's the part that people don't want to discuss, right? Because with the whole Nolan Wells thing, a lot of times people do think that if you have, you know, proximity to the dubs and dub adjacency, that somehow, mama, we made it, you know what I mean? But at what expense, right? Because many of these people are frenemies, right? They're there to be close to you based on what they can extract from you, or you're in a tokenized position. And then what sometimes people like to do, they fall for the polite supremacy, right? If there was some non-black person that gave them a ride and you like, well, it was a black person and they didn't even stop and this dub person gave me a ride. But it's like, yeah, that's one person. That one person doesn't speak for the entire collective, right? So what they'll do with us is they'll look and say like, hey, one black person, if they behave this way, then all of us are going to behave that way. But then when they look at the other people, and if I say, hey, there's 5 or 10 white racist people, then you say, well, all white people ain't racist. People start putting on the cape. And I agree, right? Not all white people are racist, but like in the country right now, if the majority of it is white and there is a system of white supremacy, right? Doesn't matter if it's the majority. It matters if it's a significant amount and a problematic amount. And many times, because people live in a good neighborhood with white picket fences and lilies around them, then suddenly they think, yes, I made it and I've transcended blackness. You think that you live in a colorblind racial utopia, and you're really setting your kids up for failure, right? You know, with this whole, you know, having the talk, right? Some people need to be more effective with having the talk. And some people frame having the talk as from a position of victimhood. Many parents, let's be honest, not all parents talk about the talk, right? A lot of people think that their kids are supposed to just innately pick up on the cues of society, and they set their kids up for failure, unfortunately, to be mysteriously deceased in a situation like Nolan Wells. It wasn't just him. I don't have time to bring up all the stories, but maybe I will come back and revisit that. There was a sister a couple years ago. She went on a trip with the ladies with a bunch of Karens and Barbaras and Joannes and stuff, right? And then somehow she ended up off of a balcony, and they tried to say that, hey, what did they say? Hey, she was sleepwalking and then she fell off a balcony. Now, find me the stories, because they love to talk about black on black crime and more black people harm white people than the other way around. Find me one story, just one story of a reverse Nolan Wells. Find me one story where there was a group of black dudes and there was a white dude that mysterious didn't make it home. Find me a group of black people and there was a mysterious Asian that didn't make it home. Don't worry, I'll wait, and I'll probably be waiting 40 years later. But you said not all of them been hearing that since second grade. Yeah, people say that all the time, but they don't say that with us, right? When they talk about black culture and black fatherless home, they don't say not all black people grew up in a fatherless home. They don't say not all black people is on welfare. Many of us are not even eligible for welfare. And then when you start looking at it, it's a disproportionate amount of immigrants that's on welfare. They love to talk about per capita. Well, if you look at per capita, I mean, they say some of these Somali households, 80 to 90% on welfare. They have some Hasidic Jewish neighborhoods, 90% welfare rate, right? But no one is saying, well, not all Jews is on welfare. They're not saying that. When they have neighborhoods where it's literally 90% of them that are on that, right? And if you say that, it's considered anti-Semitic. But where's the lie? I never marked Tatum as one to be expected of having a black measured respectability, blackness when in mixed company. Well, speaking about mixed company, Brandon Tatum is just like Candace Owens. Candace Owens, she claims that she's biracial, which okay. So Candace says that her kids are mixed. She didn't say that her kids are black. Officer Tatum said that his kids are black, and this is the issue that some people like. We accept mixed people, right? You look at people like Frederick Douglass. We say, hey, if you got one drippity drop, then hey, welcome aboard. You black like us. But I think disingenuous to just try to impose that blackness onto people that don't identify that. If someone has a mixed identity, then you need to give them that intellectual sovereignty and allow them to identify as mixed. But when they say that they're mixed, what they're saying is they're saying that there's something other than you, which is fine, right? It's a beautiful thing for us to have our ethnic, racial, phenotypical differences. But all we're saying is once you say that you're different, then you're having a different discussion, right? Because see, we're B1, which is black first. Are you M1, which is mixed first? Like we need to understand these nuances. Are you mixed Monday through Friday and then you only black on the weekend so you can turn up with us at the cookout and say nigga? Or are you black all the time? Because if you black all the time, then that's what you need to be. If you mix all the time, then that's what you need to be. And we're just tired of the cosplaying and tethering and discarding blackness as if it's a jacket. Those days of flat blackness are over. So I'm going to play a little bit more of the video and then I will be shutting it down.
But it is his black friends and teammates that showed up to his funeral, are respecting his family, and are truly grieving. Okay. So a lot of time coons are made from either having parents where their black parents carry burdens, okay, where they're teaching their children from young, like, oh, black people gonna do you so bad. Black people will do you the worst. It's so harmful to indoctrinate a young black mind like that, right? Or they are the black people who got bullied, okay? Some black people do not recover well from the bullying. I will always stand by the fact that people like Candace Owens are coons because Candace couldn't dress and got a bad perm from when she was young and her hair broke up and she was bald headed and everybody made fun of her and her bad perm when she was 8 and she never recovered. Okay. I don't think that we understand. And this is another reason why it's important to teach your children that not everybody gonna like you, because black people like Tatum, like Tater Tot, like Candace Owens, these are people who could never be accepted by their own. And typically, it's not necessarily a bullying thing. Sometimes, black people, we're discerning. And sometimes they're not accepted by the black community because we can smell the self-hatred on you. We can smell the...
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people like to do. The black community don't like me because I'm conservative, but then they'll turn around and say, well, the Republican Party was started from the black community. So clearly most black people are conservative, or at least have conservative values. They may not identify on paper as conservative, but you don't need to identify on paper. Like right now, if you're a Muslim, but then someone said, yeah, but where on paper does it say you're a Muslim, right? It doesn't need to be documented on paper for you to be a practicing Muslim. All right. So people can be a conservative and you can be a coon that is a conservative, but you're not a raccoon simply because you are conservative, right? There's some raccoons that are Democrats. There's some raccoons that are Green Party, right? So this whole thing that people try to say, hey, well, they called me, a raccoon because I was conservative. No, they called you a raccoon because you were engaging in raccoon behavior, right? You were undermining the community. You were throwing your lineage under the bus to get some pats on the back from white mommy and daddy. You said Sonny Johnson is conservative but far from a sellout. Exactly. Sonny Johnson, whether I agree with everything she says, I believe that she is a respectable sister that at least has some level of principles and moral righteousness, right? We don't have to agree on everything, but just don't throw your lineage and your community under the bus for, it's not even a butter biscuit. It's the crumb of a butter biscuit that fell off the table. It wouldn't matter if you don't align with Democrats. They'll automatically hate you or strongly dislike you. Yes, because both parties are the same. Two cheeks on the same booty. We have no allies. We have no friends. Groups don't have allies. They only have interests. So they approached her before they approached Candace, and Sonny turned it down. Well, if you have any level of moral fortitude, then you will. Like, I don't know. There's nothing masculine. There's nothing feminine. There's nothing divine or demure about selling your community out for some shekels and half a crumb of a buttermilk biscuit. Even still in these times, if you sound or talk or act quote unquote white, you will still be hated. Well, there is something that's talking white, and I think that's I'm gonna have to do a whole stream about the quote unquote talking white thing, right? Because, for instance, Malcolm X talked proper. No one accused him of talking white. Farrakhan, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? There's a lot of people that talk very proper. Malcolm X, no one considered them talking white. So there is something that's talking white. We can't say on one hand that there's a black scent, but then what? There's no way to quote unquote talk white. Yeah, there is, right? And some people say like, hey, I'm gonna use my white man voice. Like when if Braxton called, hey, what up, Braxton? What up, my nig? What it do, Brody? You feel me? But then if someone else say, hello, Braxton, how are you today? Oh, wow. Yes, I will send over the portfolio to your email. I will get that to you stat. I will send that to you expeditiously. All right. Have a great day, buddy. Have a great day, bucko. Right? That will be something like talking white. You know what I mean? Now, it doesn't have to be bad, but some people conflate that if you talk proper that you talk white. No. That's just talking proper, right? Because I've heard people from down south, they may say some people from Cali talk proper, but that don't mean that you talk white, right? Because Malcolm X talked proper, but because anyone ever accused him of talking white? No, I don't think you talk white. I think you talk proper. Now, maybe you do talk white, and if you do, there's nothing wrong with that, because there's some white people that quote unquote talk black. You feel me? That's why they have the concept of a black scent. You said, and I love it. I love being the quote white boy. Well, if you want to be, I called you the 504 boy. Whoa, day. Now I gotta call you the 504 white boy. Whoa, day. So salute to Braxton, the white boy. You said talking white in tone or delivery. Yeah, I think it's usually in tone, because the delivery is usually just proper, and the tone may not necessarily be white. It's just what you perceive as white. Ha ha ha. How are you doing today, roguish black therapy? Would you like a pumpkin chai latte? You know what I mean? Versus, hey, what it do, roguish? Hey, I'm finna go over to Starbucks. You feel me? Are you finna slide with me? You know what I mean? Like, or ideology. Like I said, it's nuanced, right? So that's why you can't just blanketly say that someone is talking white. Maybe they are, or maybe they aren't, and you're just, misrepresenting how they're talking. So I'm just going to run through this real quick, and we will be out of here. Because remember, we talking about frenemies. And salute to all the people that just slid in. It won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. So hit your boy with a like. Now let's just discuss the frenemies, right? So here we go. Now recognize the pattern first. Let me take this down real quick. And let me just drop these. And remember, I'm about to shut it down. So I appreciate y'all. Now let's recognize the patterns of these frenemies. Now, common behaviors include backhanded compliments or jokes that put you down. I like jokes. I like roasting. But if somebody is always joking and it's always negative, a lot of times they're not necessarily joking. They're really projecting what they feel. Competing with you instead of supporting you, right? If we're all friends and family and team, why are you competing with me instead of supporting with me, right? And it can be something that's music, right? You make a song, oh, I can make a song better than that. It's like, bro, I'm not trying to make a song that's better than you. I'm just trying to be the greatest version of myself. If I happen to make a song better than you, so be it. If you happen to make a song greater, but like, and this is not shying away from competition. But if we're friends, we're family, bro. Like, what are we competing for, right? Now, sharing your private info or gossiping. If someone is gossiping to you about other people, 9 times out of 10, when you're not there, they're most likely gossiping about you. Being supportive only when it benefits them or when you're struggling so they look better, right? These are all telltale signs of a frenemy. Hot and cold treatment, passive aggression, or one-upsmanship. Once you see the pattern clearly, your response becomes more deliberate instead of reactive, right? And this is why I say division is good sometimes. If someone is being toxic, right? A toxic tether, a toxic Sambo, a frenemy, I mean, you don't need to unify with that person. Division would be good. I want to be divided from that person. I want to be separated and segregated for that person. Now, here are some practical ways to respond to a frenemy. Stay calm and neutral. Don't match their energy with sarcasm, gossip, or oversharing. Now, I have an acronym CESL, SESL, same energy, same logic. Keep the same energy, apply the same logic. So I'm a big proponent of matching energy. However, this is not a one size fits all recommendation, right? So just to be clear, this is not life advice. This is just recommendation, a perspective, and an analysis, right? You have your own free will and your intellectual sovereignty to do what you want, right? So these are just suggestions and recommendations, but try to stay calm and neutral, have some emotional intelligence and some impulse control. But if you feel like going up some side someone's head, who am I to stop you? So example, if they giving a backhanded compliment, a simple thanks or okay ends the exchange without feeding it. So I know, and forget okay if you just say K, you feel me? Somebody try to make a joke, K, not even the okay, just a K. All right. And somebody tries to joke, okay, thank you. I appreciate that joke. Thank you. It's the concept of killing them with kindness, right? Now, this isn't a strategy for everybody, but a lot of times people want to get you triggered. They want to get you upset. They want to get you mad. And when you smile and say, hey, thank you, then suddenly, you don't allow them to emotionally manipulate and control you. You are in the driver's seat. Now, set and enforce boundaries. Limit what you share. Don't just be telling everybody your business, right? Especially success. Don't even tell them your struggles. Oh, I just got a raise. Now I'm making $40 an hour. You got a raise. Be proud of your raise. Pat yourself on the back and share with your loved ones. Stop trying to pretend as if everyone is your loved one by giving them intimate details into your life, right? Now, reduce time spent together. If interactions leave you drained, you can say things like, I'd rather not discuss that. I'm keeping things more private these days. Consistency matters more than one big confrontation. 3, call out behavior factually when needed. If something crosses a line, address the specific action without attacking their character. I always say attack the issue, not the individual. When you said X in front of others, it felt undermining. Please don't do that again, right? So you want to be specific. Hey, remember once you said this about me? Yeah, that made me feel uncomfortable. That disrespected me. Please don't do that again. So you're telling them what they did wrong, and then you're politely asking them, please don't do that again. Now, if you do this and they continue to disrespect you, then clearly they're not a friend and they're testing you. So you can, go upside their head and give them a 2-piece wing meal, not from Wingstop, or you can just walk away and become unburdened by the toxicity. Keep it brief, and if they deny, gaslight, or escalate, you have more clarity about the relationship. Match effort and access. Give the same level of closeness they give to you. And like I said, CESL, SESL, same energy, same logic. Don't go out of your way, confide deeply, or prioritize them if they don't reciprocate, right? It's supposed to be quid pro quo, right? You're supposed to give, but you're also supposed to receive. I know they say that it's better to give than receive. However, you're just giving mindlessly, that can be draining to you, and you're giving a lot more than material things. You're giving away financial things, spiritual things. So yes, it should be reciprocated. It doesn't have to be financial, but the effort, and the compassion and the love should be reciprocal. Now, this often will reveal whether the friendship can improve or if distance is a healthier option, right? So if you're distancing yourself, that means you're dividing yourself, separating yourself. There are instances where division is good, if not great. Also, decide on distance or exit. Low stakes frenemy is an acquaintance level, keeping interactions superficial and polite. Hey, how you doing? Oh, that's all good. Hey, well, have a great day. You know what I mean? I'll see you tomorrow at work, right? You're just keeping it, hey, hi, bye, and keep it pushing. Closer or ongoing drain. You gradually reduce contact or have direct conversation if you want closure. Now, some people just said, man, this just keeps racking my brain, and you wake up in the middle of the night in cold sweats. Well, you need to talk to that person and get some closure so you can officially move on, or y'all can bury the hatchet. And it's okay to end or freeze the friendship. You don't owe unlimited access to someone who treats you poorly. Now, here are some extra tips that you can do to protect your relationships and try to avoid the toxicity of these frenemies. Now, protect your other relationships. Don't let a frenemy isolate you or turn people against you through gossip. Watch your own reactions. Sometimes insecurity or people pleasing keeps us in these dynamics longer than necessary. Focus on genuine friends who celebrate your wins and support you consistently. Frenemies often fade in importance once you stop over-investing. In short, stay composed, share less, enforce boundaries, and prioritize your peace. You can be civil without being close. If the dynamic keeps costing you more than it gives, distance is a valid and healthy response. There you have it. And this says, talking white sounds educated. No, it actually doesn't. Malcolm X sounded educated and he didn't sound white. Martin Luther King sounded educated. He didn't sound white. Just saying. I mean, I would say that I'm rather articulate and eloquent. Of course, when I want to be. I don't think I'll sound white. I could sound white. Feel free to call me what you want. Well, I called you what I wanted. The 504 boy. Woody. You said, I don't mess with family and friends like that. Frank Nitty, bro, like to stay to his solo bolo. I can respect that. A frenemy is like a narcissist. If you have to be like a gray rock in response to them. Yeah, sometimes it's just, you cut people off. You got to protect your peace, Frank. So sometimes it's just better to cut people off. It's either you cut them off or they might end up cutting you, or at the very worst, stabbing you in the back. So this has been a fruitful stream. I'm already 3 hours and some change. So I sincerely appreciate y'all. This has been amazing. And I just want to let y'all know, it won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. So right now I'm going to play a series of some short visuals and then we will be out of here. So hopefully y'all stick around to the end and, tell a friend to tell a friend. You know what I mean? And if you do want to make a financial contribution, then
If you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and smash that. If you're feeling generous, then you can hit the Cash App, $Easy Stack. It's easy to remember. All them donations that you contribute make it feel like it's the 25th of December. Hit the Cash App. It's preferred over Super Chat because YouTube takes 30% off the top, and that's stupid whack. So if you want to see growth and watch the content get greater, send a Cash App to B-Eazy Dat Dude.
And you can super chat, super sticker, you know what I mean? Like I said, if you're unable or unwilling, at least hit your boy with a like, or leave a toxic troll comment. All of these things help boost the algorithm. So now I'm going to hit y'all with a couple short visuals and we will be out of here. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world. Y'all chose to be here with me, at least momentarily. And for that, I thank you. Salute to y'all. I do love y'all. Yeah. Hey. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah. Shit so hot it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain like an aftermath of a car wreck. It's a lot of niggas that say they real, but to me that shit is far-fetched. Them cats is pussy. They really is on some feminine stuff. I rock up on them with the 40 ounces. The definition of adrenaline rush. What it do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Willow Pass. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow Pass. These birds that I roll with, outcasts and misfits. Better zip lips so you get hit when the fifth spit. Flat line in your Fitbit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Buku. For the cocaine they go cuckoo. Most these niggas is foo-foo, so I'm shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on Chirac and then fly back out the mill. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
Ooh, B-Eazy. We all here to see B-Eazy. We wanna listen to B-Eazy. Ayy, we all like B-Eazy. Nah, matter of fact, we love B-Eazy. Believe me, he really that dude. Subscribe to the channel, it's easy to do. If you care, then go ahead and share this fire content, extraordinarily rare. That's why I put that on mamas, he is that dude. I put that on fathers, he is that dude. So be easy. Be easy, be easy, he is that dude. Ooh, he is that dude. That dude, be easy, he is the one that you can call so he can get the job done. He about to reign supreme if you thought his run would soon end. He just getting started though, so go ahead and tune in. Be easy, he is that dude. Ooh, 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 he is that dude.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Follow. Be easy. You know you want to.
We're waiting. You love me. You really love me. You're not going anywhere.